And good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Busy day today before the Orioles go for a sweep of the Braves. Coming up in a bit, Keith Law from The Athletic. He'll tell us why Jackson Holliday is still the top prospect in baseball, according to him. We'll also talk some trade deadline. Mark Feinsand from MLB Network, MLB.com. Does he think the Orioles should be in the starting pitching market? Jim Bowden told me I was wrong yesterday. Said, no, not necessary. Bullpen, Helsley, that's what you got to do. Starters, you're fine. See what Mark Feinsand thinks. We'll make a trip to Bowie, as we do every Thursday, to chat with him of the BaySox. Dylan Heid, reliever, off to an outstanding start to the season. All of that coming up a little bit later on in today's program. Also, it's Thursday, so we'll do Fighting Words, preview the Gervonta Davis fight, and bad news in the world of the UFC. Every moment. We'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But as you see, I gotta just go ahead and get out of the way because we got to do something here at the top of the show. Cade Povich goes on the board for the first time this season. Cade Povich, man of the match for last night. And I get it, Colton Cowser, incredibly strong argument. Comes in as a defensive replacement, ends up hitting the game-winning home run. Love Colton Cowser, but 6 shutout innings from Cade Povich last night. He missed out on his first career win, but he doesn't miss out on his first career man of the match, which I'm pretty sure means exactly as much. I think, in fact, arguably more. That's my gut. My gut tells me.
You think so?
Yes. That somebody said after the game, dude, are you a little disappointed that you didn't get that first career win? And he said, dude, I'm going on the board tomorrow. I'm good.
That board that sits behind Glenn Clark.
And there he is, right there, on the board for the first time this season as man of the match. And speaking of which, it was a very special night in Baltimore for our next guest. You, of course, saw him on the Masson broadcast as 2 of his former pitchers squared off in Baltimore, Spencer Schwellenbach and Cade Povich. He is the head baseball coach at Nebraska. We welcome him this morning, Coach Will Bolt, the GCR. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time, and congratulations on a special night last night.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah, it was a pretty surreal moment seeing those 2 guys out there and on the same mound and competing against each other and pitching really, really well. That was a lot of fun.
I can only imagine how cool that was. Coach, how did you handle your emotions rooting for both guys? How did that go for you? Did you have to almost, not root for anybody, just can play it completely cool and just sit there and not react to anything?
No, I openly rooted for both of them. Just when they would come off the mound, there was fist pumps. I told both the guys this on the field after the game. My watch, tells me when I have a high heart rate or whatever, and that never happens during my games. I have I try to keep a pretty steady heartbeat during our games, but last night, several times while those guys were on the mound, I could feel the blood pressure raising a little bit, the heart rate going a little fast, and I was hanging on every pitch.
Hey man, you know what? I understand the nature of you got to stay even keel when it's your own game, right? You got to make all those decisions when you're just watching.
I was a fan last night,
right? You just get to let go and enjoy it, man. That's really cool.
That's right.
Coach, obviously, with no disrespect to Spencer, who's obviously very talented, Cade is our guy here in Baltimore, and we've gotten to know him over the years. So I just want to ask you a little bit about him. I want to make sure I have the timeline right. He was already at Nebraska when you took the job, correct?
That is not correct.
Okay, sorry, I apologize.
Cade Povich was he was my first recruit.
Okay. So tell me about why, how everything came about. What did you know and what did you see in Cade Povich that made you want to bring him to Nebraska?
Okay, well, so the story goes is I was an assistant coach at Texas A&M at the time. I played at Nebraska. I had been an assistant coach at Nebraska previously, so I had ties back in the state and connections there. And, we actually had several really good players on our Texas A&M roster from Nebraska. So I had been following Cade's freshman year at South Mountain community college down in Arizona, knowing he was an Omaha kid, just kind of keeping tabs on it. And he had an unbelievable year. And so we kind of started looking at the recruiting class for the next year. And I would have, been ready to potentially offer him at Texas A&M. However, but I ended up getting the job at Nebraska in June. And he was the first phone call that we made. And it was almost 5 years ago to the day. My recruiting coordinator called him. He was sitting in the stands at the College World Series with his family on Father's Day. And we called him and said, hey, we want to bring you on a visit. He came on a visit. He had several other schools that were interested. And we offered him, and he basically said, well, I'll take a little bit of time, let you guys know. He went to lunch with his family, came back 2 hours later and said, I want to be a Husker. So that was a pretty successful first recruit.
Worked out okay for. Did you know then that he had the ability to be a major league pitcher?
Well, no, I can't say that because I hadn't even really laid eyes on him. A whole lot up to that point. I knew his story. He was, I want to say he was 5'10", 5'10" when he graduated high school. And, he was skinny and didn't throw hard, and he bet on himself to go to junior college. And, when I saw him, on his visit, he was probably 6'1". So he had really grown. And in the first fall he was with us, he was still, more 87, 88. He would touch an 89 or 90. But you could kind of see the mechanics, the easy, repeatable delivery, the ability to throw multiple pitches for a strike. And then you start kind of thinking, okay, this guy, if he works at it, he's got a shot to keep getting better. And the more I got to know Cade, I understood exactly what he was about. And you started going, okay, this guy's going to have a big league potential. And then seeing him his junior year for us as our Friday guy, I started telling people this guy's going to pitch in the big leagues for 10 years.
He's Will Bold. He's the baseball coach at Nebraska. He's with us on GCR. So that was going to be my next question. It was, what was the moment? Was there any particular game, any performance, any outing that it kind of hit you? I knew we had a good recruit, but as it turns out, this guy is a different kind of special than even I realized.
Yeah, and this one is it's pretty cool because we clinched the conference with a week to spare in that season in 21, his junior year. So we had already clinched the Big Ten, and we had one more final home series. And if you just kind of rewind time and remember 2021, still not a lot of fans in the stands and limitations with COVID, some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So we had not played in front of many people, friends and family mainly, throughout the entire year. Well, by the end of the season in May, we're home against Michigan. Huge crowd, 7,000, 8,000 people at our ballpark. And Cade comes back, and he, like I said, he's our Friday guy. Well, the first inning of that ball game, he threw an immaculate inning.
That's not bad. That's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So that was the moment. It was like, this kid's here for it. I mean, he wanted the moment. He wanted he embraced the crowd, the adrenaline, all of it against a really good Michigan team. And that was an aha moment for sure.
With that in mind, Coach, how much do you feel like he was mentally prepared for this? It's one thing to make your major league debut, right? There's an amount of pressure that comes with it. And, I know it wasn't a great start in Toronto last week, but we certainly saw the signs, and there was a reason why the Orioles were going to stick with them. But I feel like there's an additional amount, and I'm sure Spencer can speak to it too, but you're pitching for a team that genuinely believes they can win the World Series this year. Right. There's no room for growing pains. There's no room for, hey, it's not the end of the world if it doesn't go so great the first couple of times. You're kind of pitching for your life every time you pitch, because if you can't get the job done, you got to go. They want to win a World Series. How much do you feel like his temperament, his mindset, he can handle not just the pressure of being at the bigs, but being thrown under this unique of a spotlight?
Yeah, no, you said it. I mean, Baltimore, obviously, amazing young club, and lot of talent, homegrown, and I was real excited when he got traded. Nothing against the Twins whatsoever, but it was just a unique opportunity for him, with Baltimore. And so to answer your question, Cade's he's a prepared young man. I mean, he's going to dot every I and cross every T in terms of, his scouting and how he needs to attack hitters, and just being a student of the game. And that allows him to be confident out there. He's got great mound presence. He's kind of modeled his game after Max Fried a little bit through the years, which I thought it was pretty ironic. He threw right before him the day before. So, he's always had that inner confidence. And I don't think he even really thinks of the big picture too much. He's just kind of out there competing. And that's a separator. Everybody's got talent in the big leagues who can trust and believe in their stuff, who can have the mound presence when things aren't going your way, and who can, get out of jams. I mean, there's inevitably going to be those jams during the game, and he navigated a couple of those last night.
Helps when you don't walk anybody. It feels like, man, if that's the lesson that he learned from the first start to the second start, right, is don't walk anybody. My God, that worked out pretty well for him last night.
Yeah, you're right. Freebies will kill you.
No, and that was the story in Toronto, but boy, it looked good last night. Coach, I know you got to hop on a plane here, but before I let you go, just because I don't know, you remind me about Texas A&M. Were you involved in the recruiting of Grayson Rodriguez by chance at Texas A&M?
Sure was.
Okay, yeah. So give me your story, your relationship with Grayson. Did you get a chance to chat with him last night?
I did not. I did not get a chance to see him. He was. I never got a chance to. Well, obviously he never went to college, but right. I had moved on. He was still in high school when I had moved on to Nebraska, but obviously knew him at a young age. I think he was 15 when we first started recruiting him. He was a giant human being back then, and great family. He had a sweet left-handed stroke too at the time. Huh. There was maybe a little bit of a question as to whether he was going to be a pitcher or a hitter, but it was pretty neat to follow his development in high school, and it was pretty evident by the time he got to be a senior that he was not going to make it to college.
Yeah, they weren't going to get a chance. Did you know with him, at 15, did you have a sign of oh, this might be someone who's special? Did you have that feeling?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It was there. That was pretty evident early on with him. He wasn't just a guy that was bigger than everybody else. He had some real carrying tools even at that age.
Well, that has proved to be quite true as it's played out. Coach, what a neat night, and I know how much it meant to everybody back in Nebraska, and obviously we're extraordinarily excited about Cade. We can't tell you, you know how this goes, right? We're happy for you, but come the spring, we're still rooting for Maryland. It's just the way that it goes. Swope's our guy. That's just the nature of it. But we're so happy for you, and we're appreciative of the work that you all did with Cade to help get him to this moment. Thank you for spending some time with us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. And hey, Swope's the man. He's a great guy, and Rob Vaughn is a friend as well. So I understand where you're coming from on those.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Coach. Really enjoy. Safe travels. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Coach Will Bolt from Nebraska taking a couple of minutes for us this morning after, it was the Nebraska showdown last night, and Cade Povich did indeed get the better of it as, he went 6 scoreless innings and didn't allow a walk. And I get it, the Braves lineup, as a team, they're obviously struggling. There's no question about that. But in particular, the lineup all season long outside of Ozuna has been disappointing. Still, they're major league hitters for a team that's above 500. This is not – you ain't sneezing at the job that Cade Povich did last night. And he continues to show that he's worthy of getting another opportunity. And, again, it presents the potential awkwardness. What do you do this week because you do have an off day? Does it allow you the possibility of skipping someone else and thinking about innings? Or are you now thinking about Cade Povich as being part of your – I don't think you're thinking about him yet as being part of your postseason rotation. So I think you would prioritize skipping, either Bradish or Grayson, if you get the opportunity to skip one of them, I think that's what you would want to do. We'll see. And then obviously the other thing is Dean Kramer and when he might be back. But you worry about those things when you need to worry about them. Right now, you presume that Cade Povich has earned another opportunity. Very cool, very neat story last night for Nebraska baseball. You don't see that every day, right? Two guys that were teammates at a particular place like Nebraska. Like, it's one thing, again, if it was Texas A&M or Tennessee or Vanderbilt, somewhere like that. But in Nebraska, both being major league starters, it's obviously quite cool. A couple other thoughts from last night. Yes, big moment, obviously, for Colton Cowser.
No chance for him being the man of the man?
I said at the beginning, I 100% thought about Colton Cowser. But it was going to be Cade Povich. It feels like it would be wrong to take it away from Cade Povich just because Keegan Aiken blew it for him. Like, that's not fair. Cade Povich was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yes, huge moment for Colton Cowser in that spot. The bigger, story would be, I don't know if it's the bigger story, but the other story would be the Keegan Aiken of it all, which ain't great. And we've been talking about it. It was so funny when Drew was like, yeah, and Keegan Aiken's been great. I'm like, well, he was. I don't know what guy you've been watching recently. And particularly, he ain't been great against lefties. And with Danny Coulombe's sideline, that's a problem. There's kind of no way around it. It's a problem. So what do you do? Your guess is as good as mine right now. I don't think you have a choice. I think you got to work your way through it. I mean, I haven't bothered to look to see if, like, Bruce Zimmerman's stats would justify him trying to give him a shot as a loogie. Like, I remember Brian Mattis was supposed to be a starter, right? Like, Brian Mattis was, God, what was the famous tweet from, like, Ken Rosenthal? I just talked to an executive, and they said, there's no one in my organization I wouldn't trade for Brian Mattis right now. Like, Brian Mattis was supposed to be a high-level starter. But it didn't work, it turns out. I mean, he was really effective at one thing. He was very effective against David Ortiz. He was extraordinarily effective against David Ortiz. But he was a fairly effective loogie. If you can... I really don't know where you're at. I have not bothered. I'm sorry. I have not bothered to look at Bruce Zimmerman's... I feel he's a good guy, and he's a local, like, Towson legend. You feel bad that you're not...
Legend, yeah.
I mean, how many Towson players have reached the major leagues, dog?
Let's see. Richie.
Yeah. Casper Wells.
Bruce.
Yeah. It's a small group. It's a very, very small group of Towson baseball players that have reached the major leagues. Just trying to pull up his numbers this season, just for the fun of it. Just us girls. What are we doing?
Fun game where we see who wins.
Verse left. He is 13 1/3 innings, a 1.28 WHIP. It's not. I mean, it's his numbers aren't better against lefties than they are against righties. He's not. Now, again, he's working as a starter, so I don't know what that would. If you just said, "Hey, forget all that, harness in going up against lefties. Let's see if you can't help us somehow, some way." The question, I guess it's twofold. One, what really is the story on Coulombe? Apparently before the game yesterday, he said it's not as bad as you might fear that it is because that's the way that we all operate whenever we see, that word, that soreness, the moment we see it, we're like, God, it's all over. And he said before the game yesterday, no, not that. Going to be okay. Could you use another effective lefty? Yeah. And so does that go on the list of things that maybe you're looking for at the deadline? 1,000%. Is it possible that Keegan Aiken could right the ship? I guess it's possible, but you can't pretend like it's not happening. It's been problematic. And that's a bummer because, again, at the beginning of the season, Keegan Aiken was very effective. Not just against lefties, but in general. That ain't been the case of late. So that's a problem. There's no easy answer. There's no, here's how you solve it. Again, I tried to solve it with Bruce Zimmerman, and it's not going to solve it, which probably is the same thing. Well, there's nothing that suggests that it would solve it.
I mean, like, I guess Keegan Aiken hasn't been, like, so bad that you're just going to give up, but, I mean, like, is it
just to send him down to send him down?
Well, I mean, to see what Bruce has. Like, see
if somebody was deserving of that, then I could listen to that argument. There's just nothing about looking at Bruce Zimmerman that suggests that he's deserving of that. So, no, I can't. I mean, could you? Sure, you could do anything. But, I mean, Brian Baker's on the team right now. So,
yeah, there's that, yeah.
Like, I guess you could do whatever you want to do. Positives, obviously, from the night. A couple of hits for Cedric Mullins.
He's back.
I don't know that I'm ready to say that, but I'm definitely in favor of another multi-hit game for Cedric Mullins and hoping that it is another sign of him turning the corner. I am wholeheartedly in favor of that. And obviously that the bottom of the order generating an inning thanks and almost no help to anyone after them. Like almost no. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman didn't really even do the bare minimum. Maybe you could argue they did the bare minimum by making contact, and that was what Jim Palmer was saying on the broad. All you got to do is make contact. But I mean, it was dicey. If that's not if that's not Mullins and Mateo, that's anyone else. You're not scoring any runs in that inning. 0. But because it's Mullins and Mateo, you ended up scoring 2 runs, and that's the benefit of what you have at the bottom of the order with those 2 guys. So you like seeing that. Those are good things. Thumbs up. Big pop. Whole deal. Love it. Orioles now go for the sweep this afternoon. They send Cole Irvin to the mound against Ronaldo Lopez, who's been outstanding this season, pitching to a 1.85 ERA on the year. Kyle Stowers is back in the lineup for the Birds today. We'll go ahead and pull up the whole lineup for you. Gunnar, Adley, Ryan O'Hearn at first base. Anthony Santander. Jordan Westberg, Colton Cowser, Cedric Mullins, Kyle Stowers DHing, and then Jorge Mateo at second. That is the lineup today for the Orioles as they look for the sweep against Ronaldo Lopez and the Braves, coming up just after 1 o'clock this afternoon. Today's show brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is only available for like a couple more days. This weekend, that's it. You want to get this one with Grayson Rodriguez on the cover, go get it now, and then forget it. Gone, Daddy, gone. Coming on Monday, new print issue of Press Box featuring our sit-down with Maryland Governor Wes Moore that we did down in Annapolis, talking about sports topics, the lease agreements for the Orioles and Ravens, the future of horse racing, all of those things. That's coming on Monday, so go get this for free right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, or read it at PressBoxOnline.com, and then starting on Monday, brand new print issue of Press Box. Our next guest updated his top prospects and still has Jackson Holliday at the top of the list. Our friend from The Athletic, he is Keith Law, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Keith, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to catch you up. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
So you're telling us that we shouldn't be panicked about what was not a good cameo from Jackson Holliday at the major league level, and in fairness, a little bit of a dip after he returned to AAA, that all still good. This is still Jackson Holliday we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it is. One, I'm actually surprised that people have panicked. Like, one, I'm not saying you specifically, but I certainly heard this. Like, one, tiny sample. And two, as I've been preaching for years, and I think a lot of other people have been pointing out, particularly this year, the gap between the quality of baseball played, even at the top level of the minors, and the quality of baseball played in the majors is as big as it's ever been. And we have seen a lot of really highly regarded, high-profile hitting prospects come to the majors and struggle. Jackson Churio was my number 2 prospect coming into the year, and he is not doing particularly well for Milwaukee. I think he's going to be fine. Brian Rocchio with Cleveland, top 10 prospect in baseball coming into the year. He has struggled, particularly with just making good enough quality contact. Same thing. Not worried about him for the long term. It's just going to take more time. I think we are, at least right now, at a point where the idea of top prospect comes to the majors and immediately sets the league on fire, it's not going to happen, or it's going to happen very infrequently. And it might be a little while before we see things start to balance out, maybe shift in the other direction. Maybe it takes a rule change or something for that to happen. But right now, hey, hitting major league pitching is really hard, and nothing against any hitter who struggles the first time around.
Boy, I thought the banning the shift was going to change everything. It's like the pitchers have somehow gotten better, man. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
So with that in mind, Keith, like the things that were pointed out, even by Mike Elias about Jackson Holliday, the maybe inconsistency against lefties. What do we make of that particular as far as what type of baseball player? Again, viewing Jackson Holliday as the guy that we believe is going to be a star of stars, what do we make again about his kind of struggles to adjust to lefties?
Well, most left-handed hitters hitting prospect have some trouble with lefties. Now, there are degrees, right? You and I have talked before about Colton Cowser, who's basically never adjusted to lefties. Mm-hmm. And he still isn't. He is still not hitting lefties at all. And at this point, I mean, we can talk about that later, but why they are continuing to play Cowser as much as they are is a little baffling to me. But Holliday is not that type of player. One, I think he's just more talented across the board, including better pitch recognition, even facing righties, than someone like Cowser has. And two, Holliday's much younger. He hasn't faced a lot of left-handed pitching, period, in his entire baseball life. And the biggest reason that we see these platoon splits for left-handed hitters far more than we ever see for right-handed hitters is just lack of experience. You don't get a lot of good experience. You don't get a lot of reps coming up, and I'm talking all the way back to high school, facing not just left-handed pitchers at all, which obviously there aren't that many of them, but facing decent ones. The whole issue with left-handed hitters not succeeding against left-handed pitchers is typically they haven't seen ones who can do something with the baseball, like spin a breaking ball away from them. You just have to see that more and more to get used to it. And then when a guy sees it more, you see, well, does he make the adjustment? Does he improve? Does he start to pick up those breaking balls, sliders, curveballs, sweepers, moving away from them, down and away from them? If you just look, Holliday, just look at his professional track record. He hasn't faced that many. And it's not like he faced a ton of quality left-handers playing high school baseball in the middle of Oklahoma. So in his case, yeah, he might need a couple hundred more at-bats to make the adjustments. I believe he will, because he's made basically every other adjustment anyone's ever asked of him. I just think he needs experience. And when the Orioles do call him back up, and they will, I think probably sooner rather than later, they probably just have to accept, hey, we're going to play a bunch against lefties, and you're going to stink. And that's okay, because it's part of your development.
I feel like that's the other side. Like, should they have kept him at the major league level, or is it important that he – like, I just wonder how much of this it is even still helpful for him to be at AAA trying to do this.
That's a great question. I am in your camp. I think it's not. I think he has already, for lack of a better word, graduated, right? He finished the course in AAA. There's not a whole lot left for him to learn there. It's not like you can send him to AAA and say, you're going to face a lefty every single day. Mm-hmm. You don't get to order that up. And so in that case, where is he better off continuing his development? To me, having him in the majors, batting ninth, obviously contributing on defense, everything what we saw in the defensive metrics that are available, all said he played great defensively. So he was helping the club in one way. And just say, look, you're up. You're our everyday second baseman, or maybe we'll move you around, but you're going to play pretty much every day the rest of the season. It doesn't matter if you struggle. That also has to be part of the message. Like, there's no reason you're going back down. So come up. Don't worry about the actual surface stats. We are looking for you to continue your development, because the Orioles are so good right now. They can do that. They can carry him and still probably end up winning the division. It's not a situation like, I mentioned Cowser, for example, where it's like, hey, they have another guy they could call up, Kjerstad. If Mayo were healthy, they could call him up and maybe get more production from the same spot, where Cowser's had a decent trial so far and has not been able to make these key adjustments. To me, they're not analogous situations. With Holliday, he can come up, help the club, probably be almost as productive as whichever guy he's replacing ultimately, and then continue his development so that, say, next year we're talking about him as, hey, he's the third or fourth best player in the lineup.
Just one more on Holliday specifically, if I could, Keith, which is there's been a theory that's been floated around that, like, the way that Cedric Mullins has struggled, and with the way that Jorge Mateo has played at second and Connor Norby being there as well, that maybe the Orioles should try to give Jackson Holliday a look in center field. And it seems kind of crazy to me, like with someone that talented, that you'd be experimenting that much position-wise, but I guess, heck, you're already doing that by having him play second base, and we know it ain't going to be short anytime soon. Do you think that Jackson Holliday would have the athleticism to be able to play center field?
I do think he'd have the athleticism to be able to play it. I think he's much more valuable on the dirt, whether that's second or third. Or, you know what? I understand why you said what you said about shortstop, but stuff happens. Stuff changes. Guys get hurt. Guys' skill levels do change. Jackson Holliday, always projected as a shortstop. You and I have talked about Gunnar Henderson. I've pointed out before. I've seen him in the minors. He's an elite defender at third. Now, he's turned out to be a really good, a way better defender at shortstop than just about anybody expected. I mean, I've gone back to talk to scouts who saw him in high school. Nobody thought he was going to be this good defensively at short.
Incredible.
Credit to him and to the Orioles on that. But, once you move Holliday to center, you've more or less precluded him playing somewhere in the infield. And I do think he's more valuable at any of those three spots, second, short, or third. God forbid something does happen where Henderson can't play shortstop for a short or long period of time. I'd rather have Holliday still playing on the dirt, so it's easier for him to slide back over to shortstop. And also, he's proven, I think, it's a small sample, but I think it's real, he can really play second base. He can really, really play second base. So there's a ton of value having him still somewhere on the infield.
He is Keith Law, and we're going to link up his new top 50 prospects on our Twitter account, at Glenn Clark Radio, so you can check it out at The Athletic. Keith, with this being 50 on the update and not 100, I wanted to ask, where we are in terms of everybody always keeps talking about the Orioles have all of the depth to make whatever trade they want to make, to go get another arm, to go get a back end of the bullpen. But are we starting to see the tail end of that organizational depth, and this is kind of the moment? If you're going to do it now. Acknowledge this is the time, because there is going to be a drop off in the coming years as far as how much depth they have.
Fair question. I think it would be more fair to say we might be just on the other end of the peak, but I would not say that things have dipped or dropped. I don't think that their trade – I don't love talking about players as assets necessarily, but if you just kind of talk about the total value that's in the system, and that would include young guys on the big league roster, like the Cowsers, for example, who obviously because of all the years of control he has left, he does have trade value. I still think the Orioles are in as good a position as any club anywhere in baseball to make a trade. I was on San Diego radio station the other day, and they were asking about the Padres potentially being able to go get a Jesus Luzardo or Garrett Crochet. And I said, there are a couple of teams like the Orioles that the Padres are just not going to be able to match. The Orioles could go out there. I joked. The Orioles traded Joey Ortiz for Corbin Burns, a trade that's worked out really well for both sides. And I'm not sure the Orioles have noticed Joey Ortiz is gone.
Right.
They are so good.
And he's great. And
Joey Ortiz has been great.
Yeah.
He's been great. And they didn't need him. Right? And Connor Norby, I love Connor Norby as a prospect. I certainly love how he hits. I don't know where ultimately he's going to play.
Right.
But I like how he plays. I like how he hits. They could trade him and not really miss him at all. How many clubs can do something like that with a major league ready player? Might be them and the Dodgers, and that might be about it in this year's trade market. So they are in an incredible position to do something. And I would say, if you're an Orioles fan too, now that Michael Heiss has done it once, trading Ortiz and obviously DL Hall to get Corbin Burns, now you feel like he'll do it again. Because for a while it was, hey, you're going to trade any of these prospects at some point? Well, he's done it. I think they've gotten over that hump and said, all right, we are willing to trade some of our best prospects. We love these guys. Can't play them all. Let's start packaging some of them together to get players who help us for this year.
Your colleague at The Athletic, Jim Bowden, said that his reporting, the Orioles don't want to trade from their top 4 or 5 prospects, if they do this. And again, to the point, they're one of the teams that might have the depth to be able to pull off trades without doing that. But should, the Mayos, the Basayos of the world, I guess Kerstad would probably still be in that list. Should those guys be untouchable? And maybe particularly, I'll suggest Mayo because he's a right-handed bat, and the Orioles just have so little of that when it comes to this group of guys.
I'll start by saying I don't think that that's accurate. If you want to say the Orioles don't want to trade their top 4 guys, sure, nobody does.
Right.
Nobody wants to trade their best prospects, right? Are they completely unwilling? No, I don't think that that's accurate at all. I think that the Orioles are very rational, and they recognize Can't play them all. And if Mayo wasn't hurt, there's a good chance he'd be in the big leagues, and maybe that changes the calculus a little bit around him, Cowser, Kjerstad. I happen to agree with you. I think they're not trading Jackson Holliday, obviously. Right. Mayo is the one other guy in the system where I'd say, let's hang on to that one. He's made so much progress since he was first drafted across the board, really, but particularly in his approach and his ability to get to the power. I think we're still going to see what position he plays ultimately, but there's going to be a place for him. Basayo is the one where he's a stud, but you got a pretty good catcher. Yep. And if you put Basayo in I think if they put Basayo out there and say, we're willing to trade him, you get anybody. There's no deal out there where the other team gets Basayo and, obviously some lesser prospects and says no. I don't think there's any trade out there right now where Basayo doesn't at least make you one of the most competitive offers. And they can put him out there with one of these second-tier outfielders, and I mean, that's not a criticism, but like the Kjerstad Cowser group. Bradfield, who I love, I won't bore you, we've talked about him at the draft last year. Yep. Again, another guy, big, there's a lot of upside. He's still got a lot of stuff to work on. He could be surplus for them. They can do this and still be able to trade those guys. I do think if you want to get one of these guys we're talking about as some control, though, you're probably going to have to put a Basayo or a Mayo in the deal. And to me, Basayo, as much as I like him, just recognition, at least a superstar, you actually have the flexibility to trade a Basayo to go get a difference maker, right? You're not getting a fourth starter. You're getting a 1 or a 2.
I know this is a little silly season because we can't make trades, but I'll just throw it to you. Would you do that?
Right.
The Crochet thing is so interesting to me because it was pointed out to me, our buddy Eric Kratz last week was like, you're going to run into an innings problem there. Like, you want to win. Sure, everybody wants Crochet because of the talent, but you're trying to win a World Series this year. Are you going to have an innings problem? Like, if the cost was Basayo and whatever for Crochet, is that worth it for a team in a unique situation like the Orioles do? Sure, it gives you control. But does it help you win the World Series this year?
So it's great. I was just talking, Derek Van Riper and I did one of the Athletic podcasts yesterday, and I think I surprised him even by saying, I don't agree. In Crochet's case, there's going to be the medicals, right? He has a history of arm trouble. Yeah. He had shoulder stuff in in college. He did have Tommy John in pro ball. I don't know what's in the medicals, and that is a question for those experts. But if the medicals right now are clean, to me, you just pitch him as long as he can, right? You work with the player and say, no, we want to continue to use you to pitch you as long as you are still throwing at your typical velocity. You're not experiencing fatigue. You're not experiencing discomfort. There's no magic number. Everyone's like, well, he can't throw so many innings. We don't know. No one knows. There's absolutely no evidence to say that, he can only throw 30 more innings than he threw last year or he's going to get hurt. That's actually not true. We don't really know. So to me, it is, you get him, you recognize he's probably not going to throw another 90 innings the rest of the way, but I don't think the idea is you get him, he can only throw 25, he hits some magic limit, we got to shut him down. Right. I mean, the Nets did that with Strasburg. It didn't keep him healthy, and it didn't help them win the World Series that particular year either. So I am very much in the camp that says, you go get Crochet. If you're happy with the state of his arm health right now, you are getting him with the intention of using him more than maybe you'd expect by this innings limit concepts that I really think we need to get out of it because it has not been backed up by evidence.
And would you pay Basayo for that?
I would. Yeah. I would. Recognizing, I was always a big skeptic on Crochet back when he was drafted and when he was first a prospect because he was broken. I mean, he was hurt basically when they drafted him. Everyone knew there was a shoulder issue. He might be past all that now. And that is not my assessment now. Like, you look at him, stuff is tremendous. He has been healthy and durable for half a season, for whatever that's worth. He actually looks like a kind of a different pitcher. So I would be happy rolling with him for the rest of the season. I would say because the Orioles need as much more in their rotation in the bullpen, I might think more about like a Luzardo, who's more likely to be able to work deeper into games for the rest of this season. But in terms of Crochet gets it for several years, so he's the more valuable player in trade.
And helps you if you presumably are losing Burns this offseason. Like it certainly cushions that blow if you have Garrett Crochet moving forward. Before I let you go, and Keith, I always appreciate it. I love our conversations. If I could, this is a top 50 list that you did this time. If it was a top 100, would there be Has someone in the Orioles system moved into that conversation, and/or is there someone who this season is more on your radar for a future top 100 list than they were when the season began?
I don't think so. I apologize. And you're fine to ask. I had not thought to prepare for that particular question, but just mentally running through the system, I don't think so. Now, they were pretty well represented on my top 100 coming in. Right. Bradfield was already on the top 100. I don't think anyone's made enough of a step forward. There are guys in that system I like, certainly. And I'm watching, I think Dylan Beavers has some value. Cade Povich, I know it was not a great debut. That's fine. Like, I still think he
was really good last night, though. He was really good. Yeah. Didn't walk anybody, like that was a huge – I know the Braves have struggled mightily offensively, but, like, still, I thought that was a huge moment for him.
That's great. I unfortunately did not see that game last night, so it's great to hear because I think he's more of a back-end starter, but I like him. Like, there are guys in that system who are real prospects. Would they make a top 100 right now? I'm not entirely sure. I did sneak Kerstad onto the very back of the 50, which was just sort of an acknowledgement. Like, this guy can play in the majors right now, and they should give him another chance. And I kind of hope they do, even though he is what he is, right? He's the oldest player on my top 50. He would be in the majors for probably 28 clubs right now. But there's value in just being ready today. And he's the guy I would say, look, this is it. It's time to give him another shot. And if they're not going to, that's fine. Trade him. Right. Let him go play right field or DH for somebody else because I think he can really hit.
At Keith Law, as always, is how you follow him. And, of course, The Athletic is where you see all of his stuff. Keith, is there anything else I can plug for you, my friend?
Just for folks who are interested in the draft, next week I will have up a mock draft. I think we're looking at Wednesday. So I did a mock a couple weeks ago, but now that we're a month out, I think it's less than 5 weeks to the draft, I'm starting to get more information. And this is when, 2 months out, we're kind of winging it on these mock drafts. Now is the point where it's like, we sort of know, all right, these guys have moved up. This guy's going in the top 10. Oh, we've backed off. Some of the analysts have weighed in. So I always feel better about the mock that I do in mid-June versus the one in May, which I do because people want it. I understand.
Right.
But I never feel that great about it.
I can't tell you. With all due respect, I appreciate the fact that that's not the conversation you and I are having at this point after we had plenty of them over the years. I am so glad.
Yes, you have.
Yes.
Nice to pick 25th and not first.
Boy, is it ever. Is it ever. Keith Law, thank you as always, man. Really appreciate you doing this. Let's talk again soon, all right?
My pleasure.
It's Keith Law from The Athletic with us here on GCR. I always appreciate him taking the time. All right, so we've just been chugging right along here in the first hour of GCR. I was hoping that would time out that we could squeeze a break in, but Griffin told me he wanted to call our next guest a little bit earlier, so we won't do that, as we're going to have Mark Feinsand from MLB Network and MLB.com join us in just a moment. Instead, I will tell you that right now, you can still go to County Sports Zone. You might say to yourself, hey, the high school sports season's over. But they keep, speaking of chugging along, chugging the content along. Reviews, news, there's coaching changes, previews. High school football is only a couple of months away. And at County Sports Zone, they've got all of the information for you. countysports.zone is the website, countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Strongly encourage you. Don't think that just because it's the off season, there's nothing to talk about. Strongly encourage you to check out countysports.zone for all of the latest in terms of high school sports coverage all summer long. Cannot recommend that enough. All right. So I'll get to, I had a request, Matt Crow. We'll share out a picture of the board so that you can see the whole thing, and I'll do a tally. We'll do that maybe after today's game since it's an afternoon game and the end of a series. We'll try to do that because I've had a few requests from people. They want a running tally. Maybe we'll do it on the website every time we update it, like a running tally of where everyone is man of the match-wise. We'll try to incorporate that moving forward. But let's continue to talk a little trade deadline now here on GCR. Our next guest, of course, covers baseball not just for MLB.com, but you see him on MLB Network. It's a pleasure for us to welcome back into the program Mark Feinsand, who's with us now here on GCR. Mark, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always good to catch up. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
My pleasure. How you doing, Glenn?
Everything is good. Mark, if I could start before we get to specific availability, generically, 2 weeks ago, I didn't think the Orioles would be in the starting pitching market, right? They just seem to have so much. I feel like the news of John Means, being out for the year, and Tyler Wells, who would have been a backup plan, probably would have been in the bullpen, but could have been a backup plan in the rotation. And the reminder that, this is when you're trying to win a World Series, sometimes guys get hurt after July 30th. And then you don't have any recourse at that point. Has made me think that maybe the Orioles really do need to be in the starting pitching market moving towards the trade deadline, despite the fact that they have a competent six-man rotation, 3 really good arms at the top of that. I just wonder if you still need more, a la what the Dodgers do most years. Am I unreasonable to think that despite what they have, they should probably still be dipping their toes into the starting pitching waters?
No, not at all. I mean, I covered the Yankees for a long time. Brian Cashman always just said you can never have too much pitching. It's the way you win. And as good as the Orioles seem to be set up right now, like you said, injuries happen, stuff happens, and now without the post non-waiver trade deadline, with the waiver trade deadline no longer a thing, it's not quite as easy to acquire pitching in August the way that it may have once been. Then you factor in that Corbin Burnes is a free agent at the end of the year. So if you're able to acquire a controllable starting pitcher, somebody like Jesus Luzardo, somebody like Garrett Crochet, who not only can help you this year, but, if Burnes does walk, can help you survive that, that's probably not a bad thing either. And the Orioles are in the unique setup of having, the best farm system in baseball with a couple of top prospects who are potentially blocked. And, they've got enough depth. We haven't seen them do much the last couple of years at the deadline. And, they're in a spot now where this is no longer just a feel-good story of, oh, look at how great, the Orioles are doing this year, but they came into this year with expectations of, not only getting to the playoffs, but getting deep into the playoffs. So, no, I don't think you're unreasonable to think that at all.
So you mentioned those two names, Luzardo, Crochet, and I guess for two different reasons. One, because Luzardo probably hasn't been quite as good as everybody expected him to be this year. Crochet, because you worry about the innings limit and whether or not that really is the arm that can help you win a World Series this season. But I completely agree with the point and how much it would do to sort of overcome the loss of Corbin Burnes. Are there other guys that make sense that are controllable beyond this year that would be available, maybe that aren't at the top of the sphere but could still be an Eric Fedde type perhaps?
Yeah, Fedde is one guy who I think will get a lot of attention at the deadline this year. He's signed for one more year beyond this. He's obviously had the nice comeback story, sort of refinding himself in Korea last year, and he's been excellent. The White Sox are going nowhere, so there's certainly a reasonable expectation that he's going to be mentioned in a lot of trade talks. Tyler Anderson with the Angels has another year in his contract. He's been excellent this season. After a bad first year in Anaheim, he looks more like the guy who was an all-star 2 years ago with the Dodgers and got that $39 million deal. So I think he's another guy to look at. The biggest problem that we have right now in trying to figure out who's going to be available is that there are like 24 teams within 4 or 5 games of a playoff spot.
Sure.
So outside of, the Rockies, the White Sox, the Marlins, the A's, the Angels, there's really not that many teams that you can look at on June 13th and say, oh, well, they're sellers because, one little 4 or 5 game winning streak, and all of a sudden that team could be in a playoff spot. The other two guys on the Rockies, Cal Quantrill and Austin Gomber, are both having really nice years, and they're both controllable. So there are guys out there who are not going to command the price of a Crochet or a Luzardo. So there are some options.
He is Mark Feinsand. He's with us here on GCR. Mark, we've obviously spent a lot of time talking about bullpen and particular closer, and Craig Kimbrell's been a little up and down this season for the Orioles. Ryan Helsley seems like, look, everybody would love to have Mason Miller. I am absolutely it's not even worth talking about. The price is so extraordinary. There's just no way that happens. But you bring up all these teams that, we don't know yet what they're going to do, and boy, the Orioles slipped up and got swept by the Cardinals, the only team that swept them in 3 seasons, and those 3 games might have helped try to get the Cardinals to a place where they could sell a little bit more. But outside of Miller, is Helsley the best of the group that could be available as far as legitimate closers would be concerned?
I mean, I think he has to be number one in terms of that. Again, the problem is the Cardinals are half a game out of a wild card spot right now. So even though they're under 500 and they're 7 games out in their division, half game out of the playoffs is not something where they're going to be looking to sell anytime soon. I mean, that's the issue we're looking at, right? The Mets are 8 games under 500. They're 3.5 games out of a playoff spot. So you're like, oh, well, the Mets are going to sell. Well, are they? This is New York, and you don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, right? The Diamondbacks are 4 games under. They're a game and a half out. So I think that's where it gets tricky. I wouldn't slam the door on the Mason Miller thing. The Orioles, like I said before, they're positioned in amongst the entire league as having the best farm system. And, the price is going to be exorbitant for Mason Miller. But if the A's can get 1 or 2 players that they believe can be everyday pieces in their lineup for the next 6 years or 7 years, I don't know how they just say, well, but we have this great closer, so we're gonna shut the door on that. They could look at a guy like Kjerstad, they could look at a guy like Mayo, they could look at a guy like Basallo and say, the value there is going to be more than a closer. The closer is only important when you're winning and you have a chance to close games. I understand he's a phenom. He throws up, 200 miles an hour, and he's exciting to watch. But I don't know that fans come to a game to see a closer if they don't think the team is going to be able to give them a save opportunity to save. So, if they can add an everyday player too that they think can have some impact on them long term, I don't think this is going to be one of those situations like the Juan Soto deal or the Manny Machado deal where it takes 5 prospects to get him. Remember, the Soto deal, was a huge deal. Obviously, he had 1.5 years of control, or 2.5 years of control left. Machado was a rental. So you look at 5 or 6 players for those guys. But, with Miller, relievers are so volatile. They go up and down every year that this might be the time for Oakland to say, all right, we've got this kid who's generating a lot of excitement, who's really good. And even if he continues being really good, if we can fortify our everyday lineup for the next 5-6 years, that might be something they would have to consider.
It's a very interesting thought that we had sort of been spitballing it the other day that at some point, hey, it's easy to say, hey, this guy is this valuable, we have to get so much, but that guy's not going to continue to be that valuable every time. Like a year from now, if you just hold on to him, you don't win anything with him, he's suddenly slightly less valuable because, there's one less year of control that you have. That maybe there is some world where you take as much as you can possibly get and say, hey, we did really well with an asset, and that's all that we need to worry about right now. I guess I'm so adjusted to the Pythagorean way of thinking because Mike Elias is Yale educated. That's what the Orioles do. We got to get the exact value for a guy. And it's been the other side of why I've wondered if they'd be willing to do the Mason Miller thing is because, I know what I believe someone's value to be, and I've got to get exactly that back. But it's an interesting way of thinking returning to the Athletics that, it might not be the King's ransom that we all assume that it would be because of how much control he has.
Well, but here's the question. What's more valuable? An everyday player who has the potential to be an all-star or a closer on a team that really isn't anywhere close to winning anything? I mean, plus, how many closers have we seen where a guy's had a dominant season and then the next year they take a huge step backwards? I mean, think about Edwin Diaz, the ups and downs he's gone through in his career. His trade value was huge. Then all of a sudden he had a terrible year. Then he was great again. Then he blew out his ACL, right? I mean, and with Mason Miller throwing as hard as he does, can the A's sit there and feel really confident that there's not an elbow surgery at some point in his future? So if he's healthy and throwing 102 and getting everybody out and doing what he does, his trade value with the combined of the controllable years he has left and his performance right now, it's hard for me to believe his trade value is ever going to be higher than it is at this exact moment, even if he has 2 more all-star years ahead of him. Then all of a sudden you're trading a guy with 3 years of control left instead of 5. So, that's where I think, look, Billy Beane and David Forrest are really smart baseball guys. They've done a really good job with low payrolls over the years, and they understand what they need to do. They're sort of the original Rays, right? They understand what they need to do with their limited financial resources. And I think when you have a guy like this in a position like this, the opportunity to capitalize on that, it doesn't come around that often.
Is there another legitimate closer that could be obviously bring up Romano. We talk about Is there another actual proven closer that might end up being available before July 30th?
Yeah, I think one of the problems we run into here is that how many proven legitimate closers are there, period.
Yeah,
so many teams are going to so many teams are going to committees and all that you're sort of like, well, who are the proven closers? I mean, Carlos Estevez has been done a nice job in Anaheim. He's under control just through this season. He's only making $6.75 million. So the guy's only walked one batter in 20 innings this year. That wasn't intentional. So, he's started out a little rocky, but he's been really good the last month. Again, is he a quote unquote proven closer? I don't know. Kyle Finnegan, maybe he's available again. Really, really good year, really good pitcher. Is he a proven closer? I don't know. The other best closer I would say who's going to be available is probably Tanner Scott. The Marlins are going to trade him. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I would probably say he's the next best guy after Helsley.
Certainly, and obviously as someone who started here in Baltimore before ended up down in Miami, That would be a very interesting story. Before I let you go, any chance that you see the other side of this, Mark, that and I know you wrote a little bit about Arias. I don't know that he would have real trade value, but Anthony Santander is a free agent at the end of the year. Again, not knowing yet how much David Rubenstein is intending to dump a ton of money. The thought process from the previous group was that the Orioles might be a little bit more like the Rays. Is there any world where, Mullins has struggled a bit, Austin Hayes has struggled a bit. Could you see the Orioles attempting to trade any of their veterans the other way as they've sort of started turning things over to the younger players?
I think it's tough to do that when you have a clubhouse that's experienced some winning, is building on that. And you are a young team in general, and you're taking one of your veteran guys away. I wouldn't be surprised to see them acquire another outfielder at some point. But, I don't think the free agent thing is going to be an issue. His contract's up, so we should try to move him. Arias is a guy to me who just doesn't really have a role.
Right.
You're not going to get a ton back, but if you could flip him for a seventh inning guy who you think is going to help your bullpen, that's going to make you a better team.
Yep.
So, and if Rubenstein's going to dump a bunch of money, you hope it all goes to Corbin Burns, right?
Yeah,
so,
I'd be in favor of that. Yeah, and your own guys.
Right.
Throw money at Gunnar Henderson.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to have a lot of things to think about in terms of trying to extend, Gunnar and Adley and some of these guys. But you know what? That's one of those things where you're like, well, you'd rather be in that position right now than in the position of a team that's losing and doesn't have the young talent.
Yep.
And obviously with new ownership comes great hope and optimism. And, you hope that the new ownership puts the money back into the team and tries to keep this core together for a long time.
No, to your point about Arias, the Orioles could use – we were talking about they could really legitimately use a loogie right now with Danny Coulombe hurt. If you can find one of those guys for Arias, I'd absolutely be having that conversation. Mark, what can we plug for you? Where are people going to be seeing you, hearing you? What can we get a plug in for you?
Just follow me on Twitter at Feinsand and read all my work on MLB.com. Check me out on MLB Network from time to time, especially as the trade deadline gets closer. You will certainly be seeing me on there more and more. And I'm not going to plug any of my books because they're all about the Yankees.
Yeah, not as much, not quite as interesting. But hey, man, it's going to be. What did I see last night? The Orioles on pace to win 108 games and be a wild card this season. It's going to be an insane.
Hey, what did we see a few years ago with the Dodgers and Giants?
No doubt.
Right? Giants won 105 and the Dodgers won 104.
It's going to be bonkers.
So we've seen that. Could happen.
No doubt. Mark, really appreciate it, man. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us this morning. Really, really thank you for doing it.
Anytime, man.
Mark Feinsand, MLB Network, MLB.com with us here on GCR. And we just have that conversation about Mason Miller? Wasn't it this week that we were talking about that where I said the world in which we discuss Mason Miller is the world where the Athletics get together and say, yes, obviously we want the sun and the moon for Mason Miller, but everybody turns around and says, dude, we're not giving you the sun and the moon for any reliever because that's just the way that baseball works. And then they go back to the drawing board and say, well, we can't get the sun and the moon. Would we settle for the moon? And then it's easy for somebody to say, well, that's not what someone's value is. We have to get full value. We got to get everything. And it's a little bit different. Remember we had this conversation about Clase in the offseason We said, dude, there's just that contract is so insanely favorable to Cleveland that you would have to be willing to part ways with Basayo. You'd have to be willing to, like, it's bonkers what you'd have to give up. Well, part of that is because the Guardians looked at the AL Central and said, we could win this year. We don't have to trade somebody. Emmanuel Clase could help us win right now with a favorable contract. So you want us to deal Clase, you got to give up everything. That's not the case for the Athletics, who were like interesting for a minute this season, and it was a kind of a fun moment where like, dude, are the Athletics like doing a major league like situation? Are they gonna, let's go out and win the whole effing thing? Like, is that what we're watching? But ultimately, that was never going to be the case, and they've plummeted, and they're back in the basement of the AL West, and they're hopeless. And that's not likely to change. Like, the likelihood that the Athletics are going to be spending any money at all to improve their ball club before they move to Las Vegas is, imagine upgrading the payroll to play in a AAA ballpark next season. You can't sell more tickets. You can't get any benefit from that. So if the Athletics internally are saying, look, we all know Mason Miller's value is this, but we're not doing anything for the next 3 years. And even to the point that Mark Feinsand made, if he's still great for those 3 years, you're now 3 years closer to him being a free agent. So either we're praying that after 3 years everything has gone right with all these other young players, and we come out of this and we're in a place where we're ready, and the moment we move into that ballpark in Las Vegas, we've got 2 years we can hope to win, and now you're praying that a reliever is still that good. I get his point. His point might very well be that no one is willing to give them the sun and the moon, and they've got to take the moon. And the moon might be what going back to the point that Keith Law made, the moon could maybe be if you get into that secondary group of offers, the Orioles have the ability to make the best secondary offer. Now, I still would wonder if that's something that Mike Elias would do for a reliever, any reliever. Mark Feinsand said, hey, can you get 2 starters? Can you get 2 players the Orioles see as being maybe a bit redundant? But would it be, obviously it would have to be someone significant at the top. Heston Kjerstad, who maybe the Orioles view as just not having an obvious, like, Kobe Mayo's the guy we're prioritizing. Post Anthony Santander. So there's still not an everyday opportunity available for Kjerstad. I don't know. I'm not trying to get – I don't want to, like, make it sound like I'm too encouraging on Mason Miller, but I get Mark Feinsand's point that, like, maybe it's not 0%. It's still low percentage, but maybe it's not slam the door, ignore the topic entirely, which is what I've largely been doing. It's just monitor it. Monitor what actual offers might be out there, and whether the Athletics get an itchy trigger finger and say, because the one thing we always – they don't have to make the trade. But do they say, we run the risk of this guy not having this value a year from now, and we should trade him for whatever we can get? We'll see. Hour number 1 of today's show is in the books. We come back in. We're going to talk some NBA Finals. Bummer. I don't know what else there is to say. Bummer.
What do you mean? It's still going.
Bummer. We'll do that next. Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The Ed Block Courage Award Foundation has been working in partnership with the NFL for 46 years to support abused, neglected, and at-risk youth across the country, partnering each team with a children's facility or program that supports the well-being of those in need. Annually, one player from each team is selected by their peers to receive the Courage Award for their inspiration on and off the field. Learn more about how the Ed Block Courage Award Foundation makes a difference, and be sure to check out their latest podcast and web series episodes at edblock.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we move into hour number 2 of today's program. Yeah, bummer, obviously. Not just like if you're anti-Boston, which I would think all good red-blooded Americans that aren't from Boston are. But
Some
bummer.
say the only red-blooded Americans are in Boston.
No, what?
Boston's don't say that.
Who gives an F about them? They're in Boston. They don't know how to pronounce the letter R. Who the hell cares what they think about anything? They're awful people. I mean, like the worst human beings I've ever come across in my life. They are. I mean, they're just. It's like if you're born in the state of Massachusetts, like you're born having to be an awful, wretched a-hole. Like that's the reason why we created the term masshole. Like they're just bad people. It's the most unfriendliest place you'll ever go. Look, man. That said, I don't really because there's no basketball team in Baltimore. I don't have a rooting interest in this. It's just like hey, I kind of prefer Boston not win because who likes Boston? This was going out sad for the Mavericks, right? Like they were down. They lost it in the third quarter. They go from a 13-point lead in the first half to a 21-point deficit. It's somehow so much worse that they clawed all the way back in, had all of the momentum, a wild arena, going crazy, and they still blew it. Like, it somehow makes it worse than if they had just gotten their ass kicked in the second half. The Doncic thing, unforgivable. He's looked like, as good as he has been at times in the finals, he's looked like someone who's not ready for this specifically. Not ready for, dude, we don't really have a roster worthy of winning a title. We just got to go, the two of us. And I know that Irving was a problem in games 1 and 2, although he was very good last night. I've got to carry this group. And it's a reminder that roster construction is still important. And while the Mavericks got better as the season went on, they're still not close in terms of full roster. Still, you can't commit that foul. Like, that can't happen with 4 minutes left in a close game, at the time a one-possession game. You can't do that. Like, there's no excuse for it. You can't excuse anyone, more significantly a superstar. And as a lot of people have pointed out, Doncic, the belly aching, the complaining to officials, and not getting back down defensively, that's been on display a good bit in these finals too.
He's been hurt.
This is not on Luka Doncic. It's just this is the nitpicky difference between being a great player and being an NBA champion. I get it. There have been a lot of times where you've seen the thing that he's complaining about, and there's no doubt he got fouled. But the game continues, and you got to get back down and play defense and not give up easy points the other way. The series is over. There's no debate about that.
I believe it's still going.
Thank you. And the disappointing part is even at 3-1, you can convince yourself, hey, the game at 3-0, you can't even have the discussion ends. Now it's just how many games is it going to take for Boston to win. Can Dallas win a game and give us something to watch on Monday night when the Orioles aren't playing? Which, by the way, no pressure. No pressure, but there's no Orioles game Monday night. We could all use something to watch. Okay?
Clipped.
No.
What do you mean no?
It's not a good television show. It's just not. So we watched another episode yesterday. It's such a bad show. It's just it's a huge bummer because when you have these sports related topics that and you remember, you want them to be. This is not that. It's a bad television show. But
maybe that's the problem. Since it is still so fresh and you remember.
Yeah, it's part of it, I think. But it's more the first. When you start watching, you recognize how bad the casting is. You're like, Jesus, this is bad. And even Lawrence Fishburne, who's doing a hell of a job as Doc Rivers. The cadence is wrong. He doesn't sound anything like Doc Rivers. It's the look that you're like, okay, I could see that, but it doesn't feel like he's playing Doc Rivers. He feels like he's playing Lawrence Fishburne playing Doc Rivers. They sped through so many important parts of all of this. They didn't spend nearly enough time. I think they think they're telling a story about this girl's vanity and her obsession with social media, but this is insane. This is bonkers. And then the more they spend on that, they're detracting from Donald Sterling's a piece of ass. They don't know what story they're trying to tell. They're somehow trying to tell a story about the Clippers were going to win the title that year. No, they weren't.
They might have.
No.
They had some good players.
They had some good
Matt
players.
Barnes.
Yeah. They were never winning a championship that year. That's been a bizarre part of this show is they've spent time emotionally Chris Paul crying. I want to win a championship. Got bad news for you, Chris Paul. You're going to get within 2 games. It's going to be right there for the taking.
It's got this season.
It was never going to be that season.
This season for sure.
What, the coming season?
Yeah.
With the Golden State?
Yeah.
Okay. You got it. That's going to happen.
He wants to so bad.
I get it. He so badly wants to win a title. It's a bad TV show. It's I can't tell where the line is between because part of it is this was not worthy of being a scripted television show. That's become clearer and clearer. It needed to be a doc. It needed to be something not a Doc Rivers, a documentary.
Doc Rivers, yeah.
A Doc Rivers documentary. It needed to be something else. This wasn't it. It's very bad. And Ed O'Neill's, God bless him, he's trying. I said the 2 female leads are trying, and Lawrence Fishburne's trying. There's some good acting in it, but it's a bad television
Players
show.
Are good actors. We just don't know who they are. Yet.
I guess they're good actors. I don't know. It's so hard to.
Guy just doing Blake Griffin. Great job.
I don't even know about that, man.
You can barely tell the difference. DeAndre Jordan, the guy playing DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, he's. I think that's better. God bless them, they're trying. I mean, it really is a God bless them, they're trying situation when it comes to Clipped, because it is a bad TV show. Like I wanted to give it more time and more of a chance, and like I said, I don't. Oh, hello! I have the hiccups in the middle of the show. That's good. I don't quit things. That's like when I start watching something, I see it through, and I'll continue to watch it. But I know what I'm watching, and it is not good. Like, it is awful. And maybe it's worse because it comes on the heels of the Lakers show, which was so good, and so like in part you're measuring it a little bit, and that's unfair. But it ain't even in the realm. Like, it is a bad television show. Anyway, speaking of bad television shows, the NBA Finals. Now 3-0. Game 4 is on a Friday night. Imagine the NBA title being determined on the worst night of the week for television viewing. Like, people, not me. Actually, you know what? I won't be at home. I'm going to go out tomorrow night, too.
Ooh.
I'm not even going to be home. There's a large chance that I will not see the NBA title be handed out, because I'm gonna go.
Celtics, so.
I'm gonna go to the Orioles game tomorrow night.
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah, I'm taking the kids.
Much better than
1,000%
watching the Celtics
better.
win a basketball game.
Awful, just so bad, man. Bummer. Would have been nice to get another week out of it and carry us through next Sunday and a thrilling series that delivers things to talk about. Thankfully, again, way more painful when the Orioles are bad. In this business, when the Orioles are bad, we desperately need the NBA Finals to be interesting. We desperately need more other things to talk about. Since the Orioles are good and are relevant, doesn't hurt us quite as much. Just kind of nice when the Orioles game is over to be able to flip over and have that to watch. And doesn't look like that's going to be the case next week. And we don't know if it's going to be the case in hockey either. And, of course, it comes off the heels of the conference finals not being good either. So it ends up sort of being like after the second round, the entire NBA playoffs were a huge dud. So, cool. Maybe they should put Caitlin Clark on the team. Maybe we could do that and then get some conversation going.
Yeah.
The other thing, did you talk to everybody?
We're at 6 right now.
Okay, so who do we have?
We have
so it's you, me.
You hold on, I wrote it down. All right, you.
Yeah, John and Little Rock, who's already paid me, in fact.
Wow. Kyle
said he's in.
Chell is in.
Chell.
John Proctor's in.
Proctor's in.
And
who have we not heard from?
We've
not heard from
KZ
Jeremy
or KZ. I did text them both.
The hell's going on? Call them.
Call.
No, like on the air. Call KZ right now.
Do it. You want me to?
Yeah, I want you to.
Stecca. I was like, Stecca, come on. And he was
he's
like,
at a funeral. I'm going to have to give him a pass.
All right.
But what did he say?
He's out on food-related stuff.
Oh, for God's sakes, Andrew. I can't do this. He's at a funeral. I can't get on him. But the other two, I will. I need answers. I need to know so we can do the draw, so we can move on with it. Because the Euro starts tomorrow.
Should I just plug it in while it rings? Or?
Yeah, I would like that. If you don't mind. These guys not making my life more difficult. Do you have Nick Kelly's number?
I think so, yeah.
He'd probably be in, right?
Yeah, Nick likes doing stuff.
We just got to call people until we get 2 more people. We need 8 because we got to draw the teams, and there's 24 in the one competition and 16 in the other competition. Now he's dodging us.
Unbelievable, this guy.
It's possible he's on vacation.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 4-1.
Now try Nick Kelly. Did you text Nick?
Actually, I didn't text Nick.
All right, text Nick.
Okay.
Because I bet he'll be in. If I know Nick Kelly, did you text Powell?
No, not yet.
All right, text them. Text them.
Do I not have Nick's call number? Why do I not
I've got it if you don't. What are you doing here? I need answers.
Like
We want to do a draw where the winner would get a little bit of cash.
And John Proctor said that he thinks he's set up a random draw to make it fair. Ish, or like, unless you already had something in mind.
I had something in mind, but if he wants to do it, the idea is that everybody would get 3 teams, 3 and 2.
Yeah, that was what he had.
But then we got to decide the point system. So, all right, here. Do you want Nick Kelly's? Do you want his number?
Yeah. Oh.
There, that's his number. All right, and text him. Text Nick Kelly and get an answer from him. See if he's in. So KZ Kelly. What? I guess we could try Paul Valley too.
Oh yeah.
I guess we could try him. KZ.
He'll try to get out.
Yeah, I probably will. If I know him. KZ, Nick Kelly, Paul Valley, and Jeremy. What the hell is what is that? Call Jeremy. Call him. I want an answer on him. He'd light $20 on fire. I mean, he's spent $20. Maybe it's because he's dodging. You know what that might be? He's dodging us because he thinks we're trying to get
stuff,
better. This is starting to veer into long time coming territory. Let's start getting into let's go. I want this before football season begins. I want to have this bet paid off. Call Jeremy on the air. So the idea is that I saw this tweet. My buddy Patrick Shuck shared it on Twitter last night. It's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen in my entire life.
I don't want to do it.
No one wants to do it. That's the point.
I decided I'm out actually.
No, you're not. You don't get that option, my friend.
How
I
about,
am.
Like,
what?
2 hot dogs.
No. It's got to be painful.
5 is a lot.
I'm aware. New York Post
3.
shared. Shut up. Call Jeremy.
Over the air? Or
Yeah. I want to put him on the spot.
Okay.
New York Post tweets out, a shocking number of Americans are slathering their hot dogs with mayo. To which my friend Patrick Shuck said, any number of people putting mayo higher than 0 is shocking, to be honest. Yes. And I believe this is a fear-mongering headline. I believe this is one of those things where the New York Post is trying to get attention because there's no one actually doing this. No one is actually putting mayonnaise on their hot dogs.
Dr. Nick is in.
This summer. I knew he would be. That's my guy. I knew we could get Dr. Nick. Is he on Twitter anymore? Ask him if he's still on Twitter.
Nick?
I feel like I was looking for him on Twitter and I couldn't find him to tag him in this thing. And maybe I just forgot what his Twitter is. Maybe he had 3 Ys in his. I thought I knew what it was, and I couldn't find it. Now Jeremy's dodging us.
Jeremy Kahn.
That's all right. That son of a bitch.
Leave it a voicemail, I guess you want to.
Yeah, I kind of do. Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Oh, are we recording now?
Yeah, recording now.
You son of a bitch. We're on the air. We need somebody else in for this draw. And you put a lot of wieners in your mouth over the years. A lot of wieners covered in white stuff.
Oh, careful.
All right? So we're doing a bit, and I need an 8th person, and we're drawing teams, $20, winner take all, loser's got to eat 5 hot dogs covered in mayonnaise. So get in. Text us back. I love you. See you tonight.
I love you too, Jeremy.
I'm not going to see him tonight.
No, you won't.
I'm going to see Brooks. Unless he's going to be at the Brooks and Dunn concert. I'm going to Brooks and Dunn.
Call him and ask him.
Yeah. Go taking my wife to Merriweather to see Brooks and Dunn. Which I'm oddly excited about. I'm not even like a big Brooks and Dunn fan. It's just like I've never seen them before. They're iconic in their field. So I'm willing. All right, a follow-up text. What about Pal? Did you text Pal?
No, I didn't hear it. Yeah,
get on that because he's out on the other. Do you have his number?
I don't have his number, but I've
it's in my phone.
And stuff. Okay,
it's in my phone.
All right, I'll do that.
We're putting him on the spot next. Hang on, we're putting all these guys. Sick of this. All right, winner, little bit of cash. Loser has to eat 5 hot dogs covered in mayonnaise. All right, there's old BP. All right, you can text him. He might be busy listening to like a Pearl Jam CD or something. I'm not sure. Yeah. So then, which one of them? That's Jeremy? Yeah. Jeremy. Let's deal with it. Let's get, yeah. All right, we there?
Yeah.
Hey,
what's up?
You're on the air.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I just went into a stairwell. I'm visiting my grandfather.
Oh,
so.
Now I feel like an a-hole. Don't listen to my voicemail. Don't.
No, it's all right. It'll probably make me laugh.
Yeah, it will, I think. I think you'll enjoy it. I need you in.
What's the deal? What are you guys doing?
All right, $20. Winner take all. We're doing it there's 2 soccer tournaments. One's the Euro, one's the Copa America. We're going to draw teams. There's a point system. You get a certain number of points for a team being in the quarterfinals, semifinals, the whole deal. Whoever gets
I'm in.
All right, thank you.
Don't even
Do you understand what the loser's got to do, though?
You got to eat a mayonnaise hot dog?
5 mayonnaise hot dogs during a show.
Can I tell you how much I hate mayonnaise, too?
I hate Jeremy, that's the point. Like, everyone should be revolted by this.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Eggs and vinegar, nice.
Yeah, 5 mayonnaise hot dogs during a show one morning. And you still owe us another thing, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, I know. I just look. My schedule's finally opened up, so we just got to get this done.
All right, we will find an Irish dancer. That. By the way, Griffin, that's your next assignment. All right.
All right.
You got to find. All right, we'll let you know who your teams are.
Griffin's got to teach me how to Irish dance.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I would be so in.
I only practice in the nude though, so.
So what? I don't understand what the problem.
You have an HR department?
No. Yes, it's me. We're good. All right, I love you. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Tell your grandfather I said hello.
See you, Jeremy.
Oh.
Jeremy Kahn is our 8th. We're good. Everybody else is off the hook. But I'll remember. I will remember every single one of you. Zalis. Who else wasn't in? Stecca. Sick of him. Can't say that out loud. He's at a funeral. Jeremy's taking care of his grandfather. I'm over here disparaging him on the air. Bad person I am. All right, so we've got so call Proctor next.
Oh, just right now?
Yeah, okay. I just want to figure out what his system is. This is how we do things. This is not. If anybody's listened before, they don't think this is worse content than what we usually do. If you're here, you might even say it's an upgrade.
Just calling people?
Yeah, just calling people and putting them on the spot. Because I want to know what his plan is here. Because then if we can do it,
I like that little phone sound effect.
It is nice. Yeah. I do kind of enjoy that. I think we should.
There he is.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Is John?
Yeah, it's Glenn.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. All right. Hey, you're on the air. So what's your plan for the draw?
So I had split all teams into about 5 groups based on their odds for winning.
Okay.
And then I was going to give everybody a random draw from each of the groups.
Okay, but you split them into 5. I want to make sure that we're doing 3. Everybody gets 3 Euro teams. Everybody gets 2 Copa America teams.
I mean, I guess it's possible somebody could not have 3 and 2, but it's unlikely.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I can set it up to automatically do it while still being random. I guess I could split Euro into 3 groups and Copa into 2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Is that what you were thinking?
That's exactly what. It's so funny. I don't know if you heard this. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And then do you have a point system plan?
I was going to ask you about that. I was thinking one per draw, 3 per win, and then I don't know.
And then a system a system for if you get to the quarterfinals, if you get to the semifinals, a finalist,
right?
And a champion.
Yeah, little bump if you get those.
Okay. Are you doing real work today, or can you solve this?
Yeah, I do have. I'm in the office right now, so. Yeah, right.
All right. Well, the games. I only bring that up because the games start tomorrow in the Euro.
I could probably do it this afternoon.
Okay, so by tomorrow morning, because what time is the first game tomorrow? Hang on a second.
I think there's
only one tomorrow.
Berlin time. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only one, but it might be a primetime game, so we might be good. It might be tomorrow afternoon. Could we?
I think it's 3:00 p.m. Berlin or something.
Correct.
Maybe it's later than that.
Right. No, yeah, it's 3 Eastern.
3 Eastern, so 8. So
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we could do you think we could do the draw tomorrow morning on the show?
Yeah, I think so. I could send you everybody's picks if you just want to read them out tomorrow.
I like the idea of doing it live, so people feel like we didn't rig it, right?
It would all be randomized on an Excel sheet.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. We can do that too. But we'll have all this tomorrow morning.
Unless you're having people pick. I was thinking the thing you could have, if I put all the odds in, I could calculate who has the best and worst odds.
Okay.
And then they can have maybe you do just a draft. You get your first pick.
Too hard. We got 8 people involved. It would make it too difficult. Let's just it's too
coward.
Difficult. It took me forever to get 8 people to be involved with this thing.
It takes too long.
So
yeah, but now they're already involved.
Now that part is true. I would rather just randomize it. That way, there's no shenanigans here. Nobody can say that we rigged the whole thing. Let's just randomize it. So it's the 3 of us. It's John in Little Rock, Ottenheimer, Ryan Chell, Nick Kelly, Jeremy Kahn. That's our group.
Okay.
All right. And
cool.
we'll all and tomorrow you'll tell us the whole point system.
Yeah, I'll figure it out and try to make it so that it's weighted for winners, but not impossible for somebody else to have some sneaky points.
So the win part, a little bit relevant, but we'll know that we'll be able to have a loser. Like, there'll be enough points involved with this that we won't have four people tied at whatever. Like, there's going to be a way that the loser will just be the loser, and they're the one that's got to eat the hot dogs.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Love you.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Later, buddy.
That's John Proctor, taking care of business. Now everybody's got to pay. Everybody's got to pay. It should be $160. Then we'll be good. All right? And we solved this. Look at us. Look at us putting this together. It doesn't help a charity at all. It's just for entertainment. This is an entertainment purpose thing. I appreciated John in Little Rock wanted to do it for charity reasons. I should have, but this will end up just being for entertainment. All right? That's all this will be. And it'll give us reason to have things to be attached to things during the 2 soccer tournaments that are going on. And since the NBA Finals don't appear to be entertaining us, we're going to need something else to entertain us. So there we've got it. All right, very good. When we come back in, Fighting Words. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Driesell with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR. So this is the most disturbing thing I've ever heard. John Colson heard what we were talking about and was like, dude, how's that a punishment? I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah. I
hate you.
What? I don't understand.
This is the most disturbing thing I've ever heard. Every other person on the planet read this headline from the New York Post and said, God, that's gross.
No, they didn't.
You said, yeah, it sounds pretty good to me.
I put mayonnaise on hot dogs. I string it right along the bun, just like you would.
God can hear you.
Like you would use ketchup.
You're just out here doing this in front of. You're going to have to answer one day. You're going to be at the pearly gates, and they're going to say, What say you?
Actually, he'd say, I noticed you dip your chips and your French fries in mayonnaise, too.
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What What kind of psychopath are you?
Do you like chicken salad,
No,
tuna salad?
Not really,
Okay.
no.
Lots of people do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of white people do. A lot of white people.
A lot of people.
No, a lot of white
like,
people.
Well, maybe we discussed.
A lot of white people.
I'm potentially the
you
whitest
might be the whitest
on it
person I know.
because I am Welsh, German, and Norwegian.
You know, we don't deserve the 4th of July hot dog contest as a country. If this is what we're going to do with our hot dogs, we should lose it.
I
it
will
should be gone.
when somebody, Jeremy, presumably, is in here eating his punishment of hot dog, I will sit in the corner and enjoy one for lunch. Yeah.
I hate you.
Nice
so
hot. You know what? The mayonnaise, here's what happens. The mayonnaise actually melts because of the heat of the hot dog and soaks into the bun. It does. It soaks into the bun. It soaks into the bun.
I like legitimately.
Do you like butter on anything?
No. I mean, like.
You're right. People really don't like butter on
wait
much
a second.
either.
Wait a second. Do I like butter on things? I don't like people taking like a slab of butter.
No, but would
like,
you butter a piece of toast for like for breakfast?
When I was a child, I did because I didn't know better, right?
Really?
Like now, I just. I did no. Here's what I would say.
A big part of the world.
There's
toast.
something better than that. There's something
jelly.
Better. Yes.
You put both on
anything. This is the same thing I would say to people that are like, I put butter and then Old Bay on corn. Skip the butter.
So my mother
that corn. I don't know what you think you're getting out of the butter.
My mother, a good Southern Maryland lady, used to eat a banana, and she would take the banana, and she would dip the end of it in sugar, and then she'd put a little slab of butter on the top of it.
What is that? Like, why?
And my roommate, who was from North Carolina, used to eat peanut butter, banana, and mayonnaise sandwiches.
Oh, that was the Bradley Bozeman thing. Remember
mayonnaise?
Bradley?
Yeah,
it was mayonnaise and pepper. Right?
Yeah,
banana mayonnaise. Was it just banana mayonnaise?
I
Might
thought
have
it
just been banana
butter.
mayonnaise for Bradley Bozeman. It's
yeah,
so gross. Just
yeah.
So, what is wrong with you?
No, it's
like who are you?
It's yummy. It's good. I'm leaving now.
TV star John Colson, by the way, major television.
Oh, maybe.
Television.
You have to make the cut.
Looking forward to that.
You have to make the cut. So officially on Tuesday morning, I will be showing an item on.
But do they tape?
Pressure?
They're taping that, and then they choose what makes the TV show.
Well, the first thing they do is they assess what you have.
Oh, okay.
Then
that's not recorded. That's just
right.
Behind the scenes.
Then if they pick your item because it is what you say it is, they have to make sure you're not BSing them first, right?
No, I get that.
Then if they pick your item or if it has some value or some unique story to it, they advance you to the taping, and then just like anything else, they probably
tape a
20
ton
people
and
play 10 of them or something.
Man, are you prepared for like the sex symbol that you might become after appearing on Antiques
Yeah,
Roadshow?
to people 80 plus, the 80 plus.
Are you prepared?
I never thought I would be old enough to go.
How hot you might be to?
I've never thought I would be old enough to go, but I am going to. I think buy a cardigan and wear it.
Now that's a good look. I'm not opposed to that.
I actually have to go find a cardigan somewhere. Probably Goodwill. I can find a Goodwill.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm gonna wear, or maybe like a Argyle type thing.
It's
Argyle.
Argyle.
Yeah.
Pull over. No, it's a cardigan, but thanks for noticing. He has no idea. No clue in a million years. Never going to get there. We haven't done a movie review in a long time. Maybe it's time for another movie review.
It was Dumb and Dumber, right?
Oh, this guy. He did recognize it. Look at that.
He just
Look
looked
at
it up.
that.
No, I didn't.
Look at that. He recognized it. How about that? All right.
Yeah,
you're right. I do.
Lots of.
We should do that again. All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
bye.
it. Do we have time for, or do we need to wait until after the
we have
games?
time. I mean, no.
I screwed this up. This is his fault. This is Cole's coming in here
like, I love mayo.
in front of God and saying, I'll put mayonnaise on my hot dogs. That's, by the way, I'm actually worried about this with John in Little Rock, too. JLR.
He's going to love it.
I'm worried about that because he's talked about that he likes mayonnaise. Now, he says he's never done this, but I'm worried that this won't be a punishment for him if he loses. I'm worried about that. Oh, God. Whatever you're doing, like the best thing, I don't think mayonnaise is good. Now, somebody's like, oh, do you like these other things because they have mayonnaise? Thank you. Thank you. I understand that. What I'm saying is, worst thing I could say, I don't know what I mean. You could do something better. There's always something that you're putting mayonnaise on that there'd be a better option.
Sure, okay.
Whatever you're putting mayonnaise on, there's something that would make that better. That's I guess the nicest thing I could say about it. The worst thing I could say about it is it's effing gross and you should be ashamed of yourself as a human.
I have emergency mayonnaise.
What is He says he's got an emergency mayonnaise packet. God. Get a real. Have you tried a real condiment? Have you attempted?
Oh, yeah, all of them.
Right.
I love them all.
Oh, yeah.
I love all the condiments.
You're grossing me out. I'm breaking out like in hives. I'm so grossed out by this.
Mayonnaise?
I'm telling you. Imagine putting mayonnaise on it. He does that. He does that on hot dogs. That's not a punishment. That's not like I'll try it once. That's what he does. My wife puts mayonnaise on burgers, and I want to divorce her. Like, she chooses, like, she orders a burger at a restaurant. It's like, can you bring me some mayonnaise? I'm like, who are you? Why did I marry you? Like, what?
Is there any reverse that you do where you think she says the same thing? Why did I marry you? And just...
No, probably. I mean, like most things that I do, but I stand by the things that I do.
Well, she's standing by the mail, right?
I put barbecue sauce on a burger like a man. Like a man would.
That's not divorceable.
I can't imagine it would be. It's a normal thing that a human being should do because it improves. Doesn't detract from. Ugh. God. Next thing you're going to tell me they like mix. If he told me it was a mix of ketchup and mayonnaise, that's it. That's it. That's it. I had a good run. I enjoyed my decade here. I got to move on. I got to go. I can't be around these people. I can't do it. I can't. Uncultured swine. Today's show is also brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Stan, Ross, and Luke every Monday talking baseball. And then Stan and Eric Garfield every Thursday talking prospects. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports to watch those shows live. YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video is how you can check them out. All right, let's try to cleanse our palate. It's time for us to make a trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the BaySox. And, man, this guy, unbelievable season that he's having. He is BaySox reliever Dylan Heid, and he's with us now here on GCR. Dylan, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
Yeah, of course, man.
Hey, Dylan, when you have a season like what you're having, and I know it's been good throughout your path, but like this season has been insane. Are you comfortable talking about it, or is there like a part of you that's superstitious and like, I don't know if I really want to talk about it or just let it keep going?
I mean, no, I'm fine talking about it. I'm not really a superstitious kind of guy. Like, I feel like once you get superstitious is when, things actually start happening. So I like to feel comfortable just going through this season normally.
Is anything actually different this year, or are the results just better? Like, is there anything that you did differently, something that you added, uptick in the velocity, or is it just, hey, I'm doing all the same stuff. It's just working out better?
I think the velocity's ticked up a little bit. I mean, I've kind of fluctuated a little bit throughout the course of the season, but I've PR'd the season up to like 97, but I've also had games where I've thrown fastball at 89. So I think things just been working.
Hey, man, you don't argue with it, right? Like, you just keep rolling with it and make it keep going that way. So walk me through, like, for you, I know, like, in college at a younger age, you were obviously a starter. Did you know when you got to pro ball, like, hey, my path to doing this is going to be out of the bullpen? And did it make it easier for you to, like, I know, like, a lot of guys struggle with that because, like, it's the old concept, like, show me a reliever, I'll show you a failed starter, right? Like, was it easier for you because it was always going to be in the bullpen to make the adjustments and be able to figure out, like, how do I do this to make it my path to the bigs?
Like college, like, I was a starter. Like, usually it's, if you're one of the best four pitchers on the team, it's you're going to be a starter because they want you to eat innings. But once I got to pro ball, I mean, my full season, I was kind of hurt in the beginning of the year. So, like, making it back, I was in kind of like a tandem role. I was like a starter, but like I wasn't starting the game. I was like, scheduled to come into relief and throw, 4 innings or whatever. But once I got promoted to Aberdeen, I got pretty much sent to the reliever role. And honestly, that's something I've done before, and I really enjoy it, because you just come out there, throw as hard as you can for an inning, 2 innings or whatever. definitely a fun role.
Does it start to become real for you? Like, do you start to have moments where you're like, you know, when you have success like this, where you say, dude, this is it. Like, this is my path. I can do this, and I can do it at the highest level of baseball, and I'm confident in that.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, fun to, you know, excel at something like, oh, like I can actually do this reliever thing. But, you know, I think it's like, for me, I think it's important to kind of be like robust and be able to handle anything. So like, honestly, I feel like they could make me a starter right now and I could still go out there and be a good starter. I could be a 1-inning closer. I could be a 3-inning relief guy.
Dylan Heid is with us here on GCR. A couple things I wanted to cover with you. I happened to be poking around on your socials earlier, and I saw something on Twitter from back in February where you said, quote, broke a world record today. I'm wondering if you could, like, I don't know if that was legitimate, and, like, what is the story on that?
Yeah, so I was throwing a knuckleball as, like, my secondary pitch in, like, Little League and stuff.
Okay.
And throughout high school, and honestly, even my first year in college, that was my secondary pitch, and then trying to get in pro ball, I needed some other pitches. But I recently started bringing it back. I've thrown it about, like, 10 times this year.
Really?
But that was the world record, was fastest knuckleball.
Oh, my
like
God.
85 something.
Wait, you threw an 85-mile-an-hour knuckleball?
Yeah.
Dude, how is that even possible? Okay.
Yeah. I have a slow-mo video of it. I mean, they were telling me not to, like, post about it because they were like, just some nuances with, you know, not wanting other teams to see it and stuff. I've already thrown it, and like people have seen it by now, so it's not really too much of a secret. Yeah.
So wait, is it going, like, are you going to show up in, like, the Guinness Book of World Records the next time it comes out?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if there's a record for it. Honestly, I'm not even completely sure if I have the record. I'm sure other people have thrown it, but I feel like in a professional environment, you know, like in game, like I haven't seen anything higher than like 84. I remember, I think it was like Liam Hendricks threw one in like the All-Star game at like 84 or something. But
so what was the thought process in bringing it back and reintroducing it? And now, because like you're just so used to knuckleballers being knuckleballers, right? Like that's what they do.
Yeah.
How do you choose when to go to that in the, like, I've never thought about like the idea of a knuckleball as like an out pitch or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't think it's crucial to my arsenal, but it is kind of like if a hitter sees me throw it in warm-ups and they'd go, oh, what the heck is that? And that kind of throws them off because they're going through the at-bat and they just got in the back of their mind, oh, he might throw a knuckleball. And then you also got guys like Matt Waldron of the Padres. You know, he's throwing it as like a secondary pitch, and he's having success. So I feel like it's just kind of opening up opportunities. Like people are starting to see, like, oh, maybe you don't have to throw this as a primary pitch. Like maybe it could be a secondary pitch. And I feel like it suits me well because like that was something I've done growing up.
So what like when you're bringing the heat, what are you typically clocking in at?
Well, yeah, like what I was saying earlier, like it's fluctuated. Like I've had an outing where I'm up to 97 or maybe 96, 95, you know, it anywhere, I would say topping out probably like anywhere from 94 to 97.
So does the concept end up almost making it being like an exaggerated changeup? Like, you know, you're coming in, you're blazing heat, and then all of a sudden you just toss in a knuckleball, and the guy's just like, the F am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like I don't want to like slow down my arm to have him see, oh, here's a knuckleball coming. Like I still want to like maintain that arm speed. So, and that's also part of the issue too, is like if I'm throwing it that hard, it's hard to get it with no spin. Like sometimes I'll throw it and I'm throwing it hard and my fingers like tip it at the end and then spins a little bit. So that's why I haven't been throwing it as much as I'd like to, because some days it's just like, oh, I'm not feeling it today, you know?
Yeah, I get that. Dude, I don't remember who it was. The Orioles were working with somebody a few years ago as a knuckleballer, and there was like video from spring training that year.
Cesar Valdez?
Was that who it was?
Yeah,
the dead fish? And like they showed the
slow.
Dude,
Mickey Janis.
Oh, Mickey Janis. That's exactly who it was. So you've seen this video, like that the slow-mo video of the knuckleball literally not moving is like the most mesmerizing thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I was actually talking with him recently, and I was looking at some of his slow-mo video, and it's crazy. The ball's like not spinning, but just jumping from side to side. It's wild.
Dude, it is so mesmerizing to watch that. That's cool though. Like that's a I mean, I guess do you think we're gonna be seeing more of that? Like that's something that more and more guys are going to attempt to throw into their arsenal moving forward?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, especially like Matt Waldron out there, you know, putting up success with it. I think it's kind of, you know, allowing other people to throw it. And well, actually, when I first got into pro ball, I was banned from throwing it because I hit one of my cash partners in the face with it.
Oh no! Oh no!
So I was banned for a little bit.
What?
But then I brought it out this year and told them it was a splitter, and they're like, "That's really good." And then they looked at the slow mo. They're like, "Hold on a second."
but they were cool with it. They were like, "All right, if you've got more control of it, then we'll let you, you know, run with it."
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. And I don't really throw it to catch partners closer than like 6 feet. I give them some space.
That's the part that's changed. Dylan Heid is with us from the Bowie BaySox. Man, I had no idea. That's a really cool thing. Dylan, as far as, like, you know, becoming a reliever, so we talk to so many guys that, like, when they become relievers, they almost have to learn how to become a psychopath. And I love talking to guys who, like, legitimately have to, like, hulk themselves up in the bullpen and, like, are normal dudes. But then are you that type of person that you have to take on, like, an almost entirely different persona when it is that you're getting ready to come into a game?
I don't think so. I mean, sometimes, like, it really depends on the crowd. Like, if it's just, like, you know, Tuesday game with 1,000 people in the crowd, like, it's kind of hard to be like, you know, I'm going to go out there looking for war, you know, try to throw as hard as I can. But, like, I feel like for me, like, it's just, like, I'm confident in my, you know, ability to pitch. Like, I know I got good stuff. I just got to, you know, pound the zone with it, and obviously not try to be, like, too relaxed and, like, tossing some heaters, because that's my throw slow. So, like, I got to, you know, just make sure I put a good amount of effort into every pitch I throw and just go out there and just pound the zone pretty much.
What about, are you guys playing any bullpen games this year?
Any bullpen games?
Yeah.
Oh, like, we've been, like, not during the game, but, like, all the pitchers, we love playing hacky sack. And, like, here at Harrisburg, we got, like, a perfect setup where we play hacky sack volleyball. We play, like, over like the little gate in the bullpen.
Okay.
We make like lines and stuff. Oh my God, we go crazy.
So is it volleyball rules, like you get 3 kicks and then the third one's got to go over the net?
It's technically like infinite amount of hits, but usually it's less than 3 hits. Like you're just trying to get it over. Like if you spend too much time, you know, trying to be cute with it, like usually it doesn't work out.
Yeah, just get it back over. No. That makes sense to me. Like this is such where did heck? Because like, dude, all right, I'm 40, Dylan. Like hacky sack was a thing when I was in like middle school. I thought like hacky sacks went away for forever. Is that like something that like people are doing again, or is it just very unique to baseball players?
I would say it's pretty unique to like baseball players and like skaters, like especially pitchers. Like pitchers, like every time we're at home, you know, we see the away team like out there, you know, getting ready to warm up and all that, and they're all playing hacky sack. Like every team in minor league baseball, I feel like plays hacky sack.
Wow, I got to pay attention to that more, man. Like that is life changing for me. Dylan, the being not far, like, you know, in Aberdeen, Bowie, places like that, and ultimately one day Baltimore. Being from PA, the idea that like your family, your friends are able to, like, how cool has that part of this been that you ended up in this organization? And I know that I'm sure they're all Phillies fans and they would rather that, but like the fact that they can get down to see you and you can spend time with them, like how significant has that been for you?
Oh, it's been amazing, and it's kind of hard to like not take for granted sometimes, because like I could be playing in California. Like I know, you know, one of my teammates right now, Kyle Verbitsky, like he grew up around me and he was with the A's at first, and he was out on the West Coast, and it's like really hard for family to, you know, go see him play and all that. And now he's here. So like, just, you know, seeing him like be grateful, you know, to have family come see him, you know, play baseball is like really cool. So it's honestly, it's really nice to have, you know, family like so close that can, you know, come see your games and stuff. And my parents are coming today because I'm in Harrisburg right now and we're out by Philly. So it's like 2-hour drive, which is like, out of all the places I could have been, like that's very good.
That's awesome. No, it's really cool that it's worked out, and obviously there's the, you know, the additional part that like the Orioles are really good, you know, like, and there's that thing where like it's not just that you can make the big leagues, but like you might be making the big leagues at a point where you could be winning a World Series. Like that part Probably would be amazing. Hey, the BaySox are away this week, but they're back at home next Tuesday night for a week against Altoona. Events next week include Military Appreciation Night, a Juneteenth celebration, Wolf Wednesday, Pride Night, as well as fireworks. Once again, taking the field next Friday night, as Cangrejos Fantasmas de Chesapeake, which is always a lot of fun. Find out about all of these events and a dual Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez bobblehead. One bobblehead, both players, next Sunday by going to BaySox.com in order to find out more. That one's one that I'm going to need if you're listening, Bowie BaySox. Dylan, where can people be following you on social media, Twitter, Instagram, anything like that?
Like where to follow me?
Yeah. What's the handle?
Chillin' Dylan. Chillin' without the G, and then just my name twice, Dylan.
Awesome.
And then Twitter, I think it's the Dylan Heid.
The Dylan Heid. Yeah, that's definitely where I saw it earlier, so that's definitely the answer. Dylan, congratulations, man. I really enjoyed this conversation. Can't wait to see what's next. Appreciate spending the time with us and hope to be doing this again as we're talking about maybe you making an even bigger jump here in the coming months and I don't know, really the big jump. That would be incredible. Thanks for taking the time for us.
Thank you, Glenn.
Dylan Heid from the Bowie BaySox. That's cool. I didn't know that. Do you imagine that? Could you imagine standing in, like expecting 97, and then like you get a knuckleball? What in the hell am I even doing with this? Appreciate Dylan Heid taking the time for us. All right, you want to go ahead and hit that button?
It's Fighting Words with Griffin Bass.
Fighting Words brought to you this week by Sports and Social, which is the place to be for the fight we're about to talk about. Tank Davis, Frank Martin, Frank the Tank, Frank V Tank. Doesn't hit the same way, but once it hits your lips, it just tastes so good. Frank the Tank, Frank the Tank. Frank Martin, Tank Davis, Saturday night. You can pay an exorbitant amount of money to watch it on pay-per-view if you want, or save that money. Go to the website, reserve your table, or get to the FanDuel Sportsbook and reserve your blue reclining chair to be sitting in Sports and Social Saturday night. Giant media wall, great food and drink specials. There is just no place better for watching every big event, but obviously in particular pay-per-views. Save that money. Instead, spend it to try to win some money, maybe make a night out of it, get some great food and drinks, maybe get a room, turn it into an entire date night. Saturday night, Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Let's talk about it.
Yes, let's do that. I mean, it is the fight everyone's been waiting for, the big boxing match of the weekend, of course. They're running it back. Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva are boxing this weekend in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and that's what everybody is. That's what everybody's clamoring about. Correct?
Yeah. No.
No one wants to. No one cares about Chael Sonnen.
No one cares about it even a little bit.
And Anderson Silva 3, this time in the boxing ring.
Stop it.
Yeah. So Frank and Tank are fighting on Saturday night in Vegas. It is a $75.
You know, this was the 100th all-time boxing card at the MGM Grand Garden Arena.
Really?
Because I remember, there was a lot of talk about this fight going down in Houston, and I'm wondering if they didn't purposely move it to Vegas in order to get that
little bump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I could see. I mean, it is. I
just don't know why it was going to be Houston. It was a real it was supposed to be Houston. It was supposed to be the weekend the Orioles play the Astros.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Which would have been cool. So it's next weekend, right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. It's not this. It's next weekend. And I remember the reason I remember that is because Rita is going to Houston for the series, and the moment they tossed out the idea of the fight being that, she was furious. She's like, now the flights are going to be expensive. Now there's going to be so many more. My baseball ticket's going to be more expensive because a bunch of Baltimore people are going to go down for the whole weekend now. She was furious about it. So
she was furious that it.
No, because she didn't want to go to the fight. She just wants to go to the baseball games.
Got it.
But in her mind, now the flight, because she hadn't booked her flight yet. She's like, now the flight prices are going up because people are starting to book flights to go down for the whole weekend. And if they're going to be down there for the fight, then they're going to go to the baseball games too. So now she was beside herself. So good news for Rita.
Yeah, I guess
they
so.
moved it to Vegas.
Yeah. And this is, it's tough how I guess we're kind of looking at this one, but Tank should win. And he's obviously heavily favored to do so, and it's hard not to just kind of look past, so now what's next for Tank already, as he gets ready to take on, Frank Martin here. I feel like it's tough to. I mean, I think Gervonta Tank Davis wins in very easy fashion.
I think that's the reason this fight is happening. Like, let's be honest about this fight. Tank hasn't fought in over a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. We got to get Tank back in a ring. We got to get him going again. Just get him to fight. Like, that's what this fight is. And that there are bigger problems to be. Look, there's a lot of issues when you talk about Tank Davis. Like, there's a lot of stuff there. And it's complicated too. It's not as simple as saying, "Hey, he's a bad guy." Well, he's done some bad things, but there are complications to that and some of the allegations that have been made. Tank Davis was in confinement. So, like, you just got to get him in a ring again. In the first time, again, in over a year. So that's what this fight is. This is a showcase. Tank's back. Get through this fight. And, like, they can't say that as they're promoting it because they want people to buy the pay-per-view. But this is watch Gervonta Davis and then presumably...
Hopefully he can get on a good schedule and...
Yes, hopefully... in the
fight.
fall, there'll be a real fight. That's, as long as nothing goes crazy tomorrow, and there's a good card beyond just this fight.
Yeah,
Actually,
there's a legit card.
And this is a better built card, I think, in part because they know this fight is not all that appealing. It's just Tank Davis is fighting that's appealing.
Right.
So they built a better card around it, the hope being he gets through this, and then you can book
obviously Shakur Stevenson's name is still always out there. That's not going to be next.
Happening.
Yeah,
I don't think it's ever happening.
Whatever
it be, something more
Lomachenko will be really
significant.
fun. Just after what he did to Haney, but as I think what you said, like Haney makes maybe more sense just because
monetarily. We'll see. I don't want to. We'll see.
But yeah, he's like a -700 favorite right now. Tank is. And so obviously you can't bet that, but I think he gets it done inside the distance. So the bet that I like the most, I'm gonna sprinkle on because Frank Martin's still he's a decent boxer. I think, and Tank has always been very technical with his approach and really feels out guys over the first few rounds. So I think the first few rounds will look close, and then in the second half of this fight, Tank is really gonna zero in and find that knockout shot. So I like round 10 is plus 1,200. I like that one. I think I'm going to sprinkle that.
Wow.
10
okay. That's
just to kind of call my shot a little bit.
That's very. If you hit that one, man.
Yeah, and then but also if you go Tank to win in rounds 7 through 12, so you get a knockout somewhere to finish the fight in somewhere between rounds 7 and 12, it's plus 125.
Okay.
So much more reasonable and I think very.
And
what is
realistic.
it
for 1 through 6?
I didn't just
minus.
Click out of it. It might be
plus still.
If
you can get plus money on 1 through, I get it. There's a lot of.
I just think it is gonna Tank doesn't come out right away out of the gate, swinging
not out of the gate, but I think by the 4th round, I could see him being ready to finish a fight. I can see that.
Let me get to alternate group betting here. Plus 370 in 1 through 6.
I kind of. All right, I don't know that I'm gonna do that, but that's juicy. That's juicy to me.
So that is Saturday night at the Amazon Prime pay-per-view, which sounds interesting. Hopefully they put on a good show.
It's a Premier Boxing Champions event. It's just they're just going to do the PBC. They've just moved the PBC to Prime.
I think it'll.
I think it's the Showtime folks, because Showtime doesn't do boxing anymore.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure it's just the Showtime people.
All right, good. All right, should be good Saturday night. You can check it out. Obviously, it's Sports and Social.
Yes.
Saturday.
And there are other good fights on the card.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Antoine Russell from D.C., who's undefeated, is on that card. Who's the next. So Gary Russell named all of his kids Gary Russell. So you got to go by their middle names. And he's the next of that group, and he's very good. And there's another title fight on the card too. And I just
the interim. It's another interim.
Is it Benavidez?
Yes, David Benavidez versus I'm not gonna. Unfortunately, even I can't say this guy's name. Alexander.
Oh yeah. I don't remember.
Vosdik.
Thank you. Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yes. So there are good fights on this card.
Two interim titles actually. Yeah, Gary Russell and Alberto Puello will also be an interim.
I don't know the significance of that belt, but I think the other one is
WBC interim super lightweight.
For
those interested.
Yep, that's the big thing. Now, the other thing.
The other thing, of course, being that we do have another, kind of a pretty boring UFC card this week.
No, that's not the other thing.
Oh, you want me to recap last
That's
Louisville?
Definitely not the other.
It went pretty well.
Definitely not the other thing.
Mavov kind of throws his name up there.
This was the first weekend they did, by the way, the bit where like they're trying to put WWE and UFC in the same location. So
that's right. Yeah,
SmackDown was in Louisville on Friday night.
Yum.
And then the same building hosted the UFC fights on Saturday night. And apparently that's something that they're interested in doing.
If it means that the UFC's on the road more, I am 1,000%
I don't know what to make of that because,
it seems like a good idea, right?
It seems like a good idea, but at the same time, like...
You don't like the fact that they're...
I've never liked that, but it's more like the art... I'm not trying to suggest, because definitely the WWE audience is more of a family audience, but there is at least a percentage of the same... like fan base, and like can you get that percentage to get to both with what events cost anymore, right? A lot of people are complaining about the HF Festival this week. The HF Festival lineup is fine. It's just they want to charge between $150 and $250 for tickets for it, and that's where we are with live events. Like that's the deal. I just wonder if the live event cost and asking even a percentage that wants to do both, if that's really viable. I don't know. Maybe it is. Like maybe those people. I don't know. But
yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. It's hard for me to see a problem with it right now. I think it's great that the UFC is getting back on the road more and more. I mean,
I know you like that. Yeah. Whereas the WWE fans, it wasn't great. They put an event inside the UFC Apex this past week.
Yeah, that was
not great.
I mean, the Apex is like. Well, quickly then, Raul Rosas did win he's the 19-year-old phenom. He did get a second-round submission, so that was pretty exciting. Dominic Reyes
Nobody cares about this.
Dominic Reyes got a win.
There's one other thing that matters.
So Conor McGregor continues to try and, it's a mess. UFC 302 is a mess. This is what I've really always said. Like, I'm not going to believe that Conor is fighting until his song plays and he starts walking out of the locker room.
Yep.
It's just there's so many different things always going on. So there was because he apparently posted a video. I think this was last night or the night before, and he talked about an injury apparently that could be sidelining him. I think we talked about it last week. The presser, the Dublin presser was scheduled for Monday. Chandler was getting ready to leave, and then they were like, "Oh, we're canceling this. Don't fly out here." So it's just such a mess. The UFC is putting out feelers once again. So when the presser was canceled, they started putting out feelers for a potential replacement bout. Then it kind of cooled off. Chandler did some more interviews. I think Conor said something, and they were like, all right, I think we're good. And it kind of cooled off. And then over the past 24, 36 hours, more stuff is kind of popped off. Ariel Helwani tweeted yesterday. So this was yesterday. So since yesterday morning, multiple sources are now saying that feelers are being sent out again for June 29th, which is the date of UFC 302 for Chandler McGregor, for replacement or new
June
fights.
29th? Oh, forget it. Forget it.
There seems to be pessimism all over again regarding the status of 303. Actually, even more pessimism, it seems, than Monday of last week when the presser was canceled at the last minute. So is it insurance, due diligence, emergency replacement? I mean, it's, we'll see. Nothing's official. Nothing's officially been called off yet. But, yeah, Conor... Maybe this is all part of the promotion, and that's Conor just being a master promoter. Maybe that's Let's see. He said, I think, it was just kind of a cryptic video.
I thought the fight was in July. June 29th, forget it. Like, if you
well, they've been training for it. Like, it's at this point, it's on. Like, it's Chandler's ready to go. I know. Chandler's been ready for 2 years.
That helps you with nothing. Like,
but the video was like I think the more resistance you train with, the less movement and the less movement and the more injury. But the less resistance you train with, the more movement and the less injury. So it's just been no one knows what to make of it. No one knows what to make of it, and the fact that it's Conor McGregor, anything.
Well, and then
literally happened.
The hilarious part is that like you just know how like there are people that paid exorbitant amounts of money to be there for this fight because it's supposed to be Conor McGregor, and then if it ends up being anything else. Anything.
It's gonna be.
There's just nothing. There's nothing.
And I hate it too because I'm also like I said, I'm very much in the mind where I'm not gonna believe this fight happens until it literally the first bell rings.
Mm-hmm.
But like I also, it's freaking Conor McGregor is supposed to fight. Like I want to get excited for that too. If that's what we're planning for, I also want to enjoy the theatrics of a Conor McGregor fight week and the Conor McGregor press conferences and the Conor McGregor social media and it's hard not to feel bad for Michael Chandler at this point. Like Volkanovski seems like a name that everyone's throwing out. Like he could step in to fight just because he's Alexander Volkanovski and he'll always do whatever. He'll always do anything.
There'll be a handful of people that'll care about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it should be a cool fight. Chandler versus Volk, just a big, high level lightweight MMA bout. Who wouldn't get excited for that?
All right, you get 2 seconds to say something about this week.
Okay. It's not a great card. They're back in the Apex this week. It's nothing great. It is Tatsuro Taira versus Alex Perez. I love Alex Perez. It's a flyweight bout. So there's a lot of like 135, a lot of smaller guys, but that's like usually a lot more high quality MMA, which is good. Because the guys are just more skilled.
Right. I just realized I don't care. I'm going back to the Conor thing. I'm just thinking about like some of the getting the rug pulled out underneath you type of things. And we saw this with like there was almost like a riot in Vancouver because so many people had like paid exorbitant amounts of money to see Leo Messi a couple weeks ago, and then he didn't play, right? And they were all losing their minds. I think I've told this story before.
Those kind of situations?
There's nothing that you just say, hey, sorry, you took this upon yourself. Like, this is where somebody could step in and try to, like, get good publicity out of it. Like all those people in Vancouver, some restaurant could be like, hey, man, know you're all disappointed. Anybody who bought a ticket, come in here, we'll give you a free. And, like, you could try to capitalize off of it in some way. The one that I bring up sometimes, that's a great point, John Proctor brought up, that like McGregor is still, this is probably him still recovering and from the embarrassment of his loss to Jake Gyllenhaal too. You got to think about that. It's been hard for him to show his face. Like how does he possibly fight again? My freshman year of college was Cal Ripken's final season. And remember, he announced it very early on. And when he announced it, my buddy and I went ahead and bought tickets for the final game of the year to make sure that we were there. That game scheduled for Yankee Stadium. So we bought tickets. At the time were very expensive by that stand. Like now, if I told you they were like $100, you'd be like, yeah, that's about right. Well, like at the time, that was about $80 more than you paid for a ticket, right? Like, and we were college freshmen that had no money. So that was 2001. You might remember. Yes. In September of 2001, the baseball schedule changed. Because on September 11th, unfortunately, our country was attacked. And that obviously takes significant precedent over the baseball schedule. So the game that was supposed to be the final game of the season in Yankee Stadium, they took that week of games that had been scheduled for the week of 9/11, and they just moved that week to the end of the season. And so now Cal Ripken's final game was in Baltimore, which, of course, was fitting for a lot of people. You know who it wasn't fitting for?
The guys that paid a lot of money to
lots of money.
New York.
Lots of money. Now, of course, you can't say that out loud. You can't talk about your plight. You can't say, oh, woe is me. I just put out all this money for this thing that now has no value because, thousands of people died. It was the worst day in American history. So you sure as hell can't bring that up. You can't even slyly, who was really hurt by all of this. You can't do that. Just gotta suck it up. So we get to a week before the game, and my buddy says to me, all right, what's the plan for next Sunday? I'm like, what the F are you talking about what the plan is for next Sunday? I'm going to watch the Ravens. That's the plan for next Sunday. I'll poke in at the Orioles game. He's like, what do you mean? We're going to go? And I'm like, well, dude, go? We're already out the $100.
Well,
what are we going to do now? Spend more money on gas and parking and all of that? No, we cut our losses. It's what it is. We see if we can't sell the tickets for $10 on eBay. Go. Go? What are you talking about? My idiot friend talked me into going.
Attaboy.
It's dude, well, we already have tickets. We might as well go. We could say we were there for Cal Ripken's last game at Yankee Stadium. That's not a thing.
Well, actually, it is. You were there.
No one will ever care.
You were there, though.
Thank you. It was miserable. It was raining the whole time. He only took one at bat too in that game because it was a week left. It was awful. Yankee Stadium. This is the old Yankee Stadium. A dump. A dump. I mean, it's so, and we were in left field where they weren't even trying. So nobody. I don't think the outfield bleacher sections were separated. You couldn't go to the rest of the stadium. They were its own area. There were no concession stands. There was a guy selling hot dogs on white bread. That's what you had. It was awful. It was raining. It was miserable. It sucked. I was missing a Ravens game in order to be at this thing.
Yeah, that does.
The year after they had won the Super Bowl, and this was, remember, Elvis Gerback year, when we thought, now the offense is going to be as good as the defense. Awful. Just awful. I think about that all the time when I hear stories like that. You just know someone. Now, that's 100, whatever it was, 100 plus how much I paid in gas and parking and all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure my idiot buddy got me to spend all of it too. Talked me into it, and then I think I drove. And he was like, I don't have a car. Get go F yourself. And then
most memory you have forever.
It's the only time I ever went to the old Yankee Stadium. It's the only time I ever went to the old Yankee Stadium.
Good thing you went.
Nope. It sucked. It was terrible.
Now you know that it was as big of a dump as everyone says 100%. It was.
They needed a new stadium. And then
it's so much better now.
It is. I mean, it is. It's not. There's no charm to it. It's just a
big
stadium, right?
Yeah.
But it is definitely better. Drew and I got thrown out of the new Yankee Stadium one time. I've seen multiple different sports at the new Yankee Stadium. Although I didn't go to the football because I didn't go. I was going to go to the Pinstripe Bowl, but when Maryland was in, but it was coming out of COVID. I just passed. I went to a hockey game once at the new Yankee Stadium. Very weird. Anyway, the moral of the story is I'm thinking about those guys.
A hockey game here.
You douchebags that spent $5,000 on tickets and another $5,000 on travel and all of that so you could go see Conor McGregor, and now you're like,
it'd be pretty cool to see Conor McGregor. Well, I hope it happens.
I know you do. I don't care.
Well, you should. What about those people that spend $5,000?
Don't care about
feel
it,
anything
right?
towards them? You were once in their shoes.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. That's prime Gerback time, Proctor said. Yeah, it was. I don't know I wish I could go back and find out what the game was. Hang on a second. I could 2001.
Do you want my parlay for this week?
Sure,
this week's
go
card
ahead.
that no one's going to watch.
Go ahead.
Sarah Gee, Nate Manis, Asu Amabayev by sub or decision, and Askram Aliskerov by finish. You parlay those four together, you get plus 125. Those are all because there's a few big heavy favorites, so that's why you go Sergey, Nate Manis, and then Almabayev by sub decision and Aliskerov by finish. You put those together, you get plus 125. I do like Alex Perez as well. He's about plus 150 right now against Tatsuro Taira. It's a good fight because whoever wins this is gonna kind of be really close to, if not next in line for a shot at Alexander Pantoja, the flyweight title. So that's why I'm rooting for Perez a lot, though, because he's older, and it'd be really cool if he gets one more shot at the title.
I missed a 20-13 win over the Broncos. It was in Denver, so I wouldn't have gone to the game, but I missed a 20-13 win over the Broncos that day. I'm trying to see if there's anything notable about that game whatsoever. Here's what we got. Box score. Elvis Gerbach, 17 of 30 for 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. For Ravens, Elvis Gerbach might have been his best game of the season, right? Might have been the best game he had all year. Anything else? Their leading rusher that day, in a million years. You couldn't, in a million years. I could give you 50
Priest Holmes.
Not Priest Holmes. He was gone after the Super Bowl.
Was it Jamal Lewis?
No, he was, hurt that season.
Oh.
Remember, he got hurt on the first day of training camp.
That sucks.
Yeah, after being Rookie of the Year.
I don't
good
think
luck.
I'm gonna guess.
Good luck. No, it's not Bam Morris, Proctor. That was predates. Bam Morris predates that 2001 Ravens.
I think I've exhausted my running back knowledge of the early Ravens.
I said you could have 50 guesses,
okay.
Griffin.
Willis McGahee.
50. Not Willis McGahee.
I don't want to throw out guys I know it's not. You want me to do that?
No.
Well, it wasn't Barry Sanders.
Nope, sure wasn't Barry Sanders.
You want to keep guessing? I don't know.
Nope.
No? Or
yeah,
yes?
I mean, fine. You can give up. There was a 3-headed monster that the Ravens were hoping could make up for the loss of Jamal Lewis. 2 were NFL veterans they had brought in. The other was a young player that they were hoping the most from, who's most famous for then moving on to the Packers and getting cut by accident.
How's that?
They asked, so the Packers, Jason Brookins, who's not the leading rusher from that day, was asked to bring his playbook in. He assumed that was because they wanted it back as he was being cut, so he ran. Turns out they wanted to add to the playbook.
New playbook, yeah.
And then when he ran, they cut him. The other 2, NFL veteran Mo Williams was one of the 3, but the veteran that had the most success in the NFL, former Washington running back, and with 65 yards that day, the Ravens' leading rusher, Terry Allen, was the leading rusher for the day. And then the leading receiver that day, with 90 yards and a touchdown on
Qadri Ismail.
Not Qadri Ismail. He had 2 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown in that game.
Pretty good game.
A future Hall of Famer had 5 catches for 50 yards in that game.
Shannon? No.
Shannon Sharp, indeed. Shannon Sharp, 5 catches, 50 yards, but 4 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown to beat the Denver Broncos. And I didn't get to see any of it. Former first-round pick.
I don't know, Stokely?
Not Brandon Stokely was not a first-round pick. He had 1 catch for 3 yards in that game, though.
Boy Stokes.
Yeah, there you go. Solid. Gentleman's 3.
I should know him, I guess?
He was a first-round pick. There's only been so many first-round picks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The first-round pick that year?
No. First-round pick the previous year.
Say it 2 that year?
Mm-hmm.
Darn it, who was the other one?
Jamal Lewis was one of their first-round picks.
Jermaine Lewis?
Not Jermaine Lewis. He had been on the team for a few years. Yeah. He was also not a first-round pick.
Yeah.
But he was a much better player than this guy was.
Oh, jeez.
This guy just never worked, except for this day. This day. I don't remember if we all believed that day. I couldn't have because I didn't get to see the game. First-round pick out of Florida.
I'm gonna say, I don't know. Cause it wasn't Michael Jackson.
Certainly wasn't Michael Jackson.
Alexander.
It was not. Neither of those guys were drafted by the Ravens, and
No,
neither
they
of them were
weren't.
on the team by that point.
But they were my only guesses. No.
This guy finished this
Travis
season.
Taylor.
That's exactly who
Is
it
that who
was.
it was?
Travis Taylor. Exactly right. He finished that year with 560 yards. The next year, Travis Taylor actually had a year. He had 2002. He had 869 yards and 6 touchdowns. But that was the high water mark for Travis Taylor. That was about it. All right, that's fine. We did more than enough here. Let's go.
Okay.
Tidbit 2, but then we come back in. Glenn Clark Radio. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Driesell with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, let's wrap up so we can get out of here and watch the Orioles game. Let's do this.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
It was one shy. You think you can name 2006 Twins? It was one shy of the club record when they had 6 players with 3 hits. Maurer was not in the lineup this day.
Morneau?
Morneau was, but he did not have 3 hits.
Not a good start. Torrey Hunter?
Torrey Hunter, yes. Was in the lineup and had 3 hits, obviously. It's 6 players with 3 hits.
Was Jack Jones on the team? That'd be cool if it was Jack Jones.
No, it wasn't Jack Jones.
That's a bummer. I'm not sure I can get another one. Kadire? Was Kadire on that team?
Kadire was on the team, and yeah, he had 3 hits.
Hey!
Scored 3 runs.
I don't think I've got another one.
Let's see. Mike Redmond.
Sure.
He was catching that day. Nick Punto, he went over.
Nick Punto.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Nick Punto.
Yeah.
Luis Castillo, 3-hit day.
I didn't know Luis Castillo played for the Twins.
Josh Rabe. Is it Rabe or Rab?
I don't remember that
went
human.
Over. Jason Tyner and Jason Bartlett both had 3 hits as well.
I don't remember who Jason Tyner was playing with, but we wore out Jason Tyner one day in
What do you say, Baltimore?
Yeah. Oh my God, I wish I could tell you who Jason Tyner was playing for at the time, but we just kept calling him Tiny. And we made a million Tiny jokes. I think he had like 1 career home run at that point, and like we had studied, like we had done our homework for Jason Tyner, and he turned back around at one point and he tried to give us the throat slash. Like we were all over him. Like we slaughtered Jason Tyner.
All right, can you name the 2 players with the most 5-hit games in their career? 2 players have had double-digit 5-hit games in their careers.
2 players, double-digit 5-hit games. Well, I'll try Pete Rose.
Pete Rose is one of them. He had 10.
How about Ichiro?
Not Ichiro. Ichiro had 7.
Bum.
For real.
I think he's Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn just shy. He had 9.
Sucks. Wade Boggs?
No, not Wade Boggs.
Rod Carew?
No, not Rod Carew.
Paul Molitor?
Not Paul Molitor.
George Brett?
Molitor had 7 as well. Not George Brett.
Ty Cobb?
Ty Cobb.
Okay.
The most all-time. 14 5-hit games.
That's a lot.
In his baseball career. There are 2 players that have 5 5-hit games that are active.
5-hit games, and they're active. Okay. How about... I'm thinking of older players, and I'm like, not that guy. It's probably not Andrew McCutchen.
There is a place.
Boy. Huh.
One did it earlier this year.
Thanks. I'm definitely going to remember that.
You checked box
How about
scores
Freddie
every day.
Freeman?
No, not Freddie Freeman.
Paul Goldschmidt?
Not Paul Goldschmidt.
Jose Altuve?
Not Jose Altuve. One is a Toronto Blue Jay. It's been a while since he's had a 5-hit game. At least I think, because he's a Blue Jay and he's been struggling.
George Springer?
George Springer has had 5 5-hit games in his career. The other did it earlier this season, and he is an NL Central.
Yelich?
Christian Yelich.
Okay.
Christian Yelich. And then there are 3.
Going to be my guess even before you said NL Central.
3 Orioles have had 3 5-hit games.
Ever?
Yep. One had 4. 2 guys have had 3.
They all did it with the Orioles.
Yeah.
Cal
Ripken has the most in Orioles history.
He did in
4.
Atlanta once. I remember that one. Oh, he went 6 for 6, I think, in Atlanta one night.
4 5-hit games for Cal.
I mean, Brooks.
Not Brooks.
Frank.
Not Frank. Brooks had 2.
Eddie.
Not Eddie.
Kenny Singleton.
Not Kenny.
Robbie Alomar. Boog Powell. This is Brian Roberts.
Not Brian
Nick
Roberts.
Markakis.
One is currently on the team.
One is currently on the team?
Mm-hmm. The other was an Oriole from 63 to 67. An infielder.
Davey Johnson?
Not Davey Johnson.
One is there's a current Oriole that has 3 5-hit games that I'm blanking on.
Yeah.
Cedric?
Cedric Mullins.
I don't know why I don't remember.
Tied for the second most in Orioles history.
Okay.
And the other was from the 60s.
Yeah.
Played for the White Sox.
Louis Aparicio.
Louis
yeah.
Aparicio.
All right. Very good. Very good.
Yes.
Now it's time for us to do this.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. Orioles in action this afternoon. Cole Irvin on the mound against Reynaldo Lopez as they take on the Braves, looking for a sweep at 1:05. It's on Masson. And also in the rest of the country, you can watch it on ESPN+. Stanley Cup Final, Game 3 tonight, Panthers-Oilers, 8 o'clock on ABC. U.S. Open, Round 1 is on USA right now. It switches to Peacock at 5 o'clock. I think Tiger got off to a decent start, but that kind of faded away. Other baseball today, National Tigers 110 on Masson 2. MLB Network, Yankees, Royals at 2, Phillies, Red Sox at 7. MLB.TV, the free game is Pirates, Cardinals at 2:15. Fox Sports 1, Angels, Diamondbacks at 9:40. WNBA tonight, Seattle Storm, Dallas Wings at 7 on ESPN. Atlanta Dream, Indiana Fever, so Caitlin Clark at 7 on ESPN 3. Prime Video for the Vegas Aces and Phoenix Mercury tonight at 10. Access TV for TNA Impact at 8. Anything significant non-sports-wise, because we got to go.
We got PFL. Liz Carmouche is fighting. Thiago Santos is fighting. He'll lose. You can bet against him. That's the PFL.
What is that on?
It's on ESPN Plus, if not on one of the networks. It sounds like they're all being used, though.
It could be on after the WNBA game on ESPN.
Yeah, at 9.
It's possible.
I think it starts at 9.
It's possible.
Okay.
Quite possible.
Let's see. What's the
it's got to be real high. We got to go.
Season 3 finale of Welcome to Wrexham.
Yeah,
sad. I know. I can't believe it.
That makes me very sad.
There. Season 4, The Boys.
Is that today? I thought it was tomorrow. Oh, that's exciting.
Today. It is today.
All right.
Season 3, Part 2 of Bridgerton.
Oh.
On Netflix.
All right.
And then, that's it.
All right, very good. Thanks to today to Keith Law. Thanks to Dylan Heid. Thanks to Will Bolt, the baseball coach at Nebraska, and thanks also to Mark Feinsand. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God, it's so good. And John Proctor and.
Well, that's Jeremy. Not worried about that. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow, Buck Showalter's joining us.
Correct.
Always like that. Anything else?
KZ just texted me that he wants in. Should I tell him it's too late and he's just too slow, or should we find a way to like make him think he loses no matter what, and then. This is what happens when you're not on social media. You just.
It's true. We could do all this under the. Who do we think? All right. Who's least likely to actually pay off the punishment? Who's the guy that we think we'd be worried about them losing? Like, would they actually do it?
They're all honorable men.
I think you're right about that. I think you're right. He might just be out. That just might be the reality. Sorry, buddy. You're out. That's the way it goes. Talk to Proctor. See if there's a way that like we can give. I guess it's possible because we have so many points at stake. Somebody could have the same teams as somebody else.
Yeah, so like
talk to Proctor and figure that out. All right, that's between the two of you. Got it? All right, we got to go. Thanks to everybody. Anything else tomorrow? Just Buck.
Yeah, Buck Stan will be here.
It's a good one. No, Stan will not be here.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
Stan will not.
Stan will not be here. So. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Cruise, Maryland, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costas Inn, MSAA, Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. What day is today? Thursday.
It would be
Thursday evening. We'll get there eventually. Go Birds. Duke sucks.